Good morning, everyone, and I will call the quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order. We have a full house practically this morning. Nisha Powers cannot be with us. Unfortunately, kind of a last-minute thing. Lucas is not feeling well, and we all know that he is near and dear to her heart. So she is home with him exactly where she needs to be, but we will miss her today. We have had a great start already to our morning. We just completed a ceremonial signing a statewide articulation agreement in nursing with our friends at Belmont University. And this is a really meaningful partnership that existed in smaller ways, but now it incorporates all 13 of our community colleges, creating a seamless pathway for our graduates with the Associate of Science in Health Sciences at our community colleges to continue into Belmont's Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. We do so much collaboration each and every day, so this is yet another powerful example of working closely with a university on a program that is near and dear to our community colleges. And to our team, Dr. Reed took the lead, but to all of our team that has touched this along the way, thank you, and we look forward to hearing more. Now we get to execute on this exciting news. Welcome to everyone here this morning, any dignitaries, officials, media with us, or those who may be watching us on the live stream. But I have to call out a special welcome this morning to our newest board member, and that's Commissioner Andy Holt from the Department of Agriculture. Thank you for being here. So we have had such great ag commissioners who have taken such an interest in the work of TBR, and you are certainly no exception. So we're so excited to have you here. Commissioner Holt has already served the state, of course, as a state representative from West Tennessee. He's been at the department now for several years. He served as Commissioner Hatcher's in business development, as assistant commissioner, I should say, and is a native of West Tennessee, married into a farm family, as I understand it. Do I have that right?
So I'm a native of Knoxville.
Oh.
But a lot of folks think I'm from West Tennessee.
Okay, I did not realize that because your roots now are so deep in West Tennessee. But you're UT graduate, so I should have known about the Knoxville connection.
UT Knoxville and UT Martin,
yes,
master's degree. Yes,
very proudly. What have I missed that you'd like for us to know about you, Commissioner?
I have 7 kids and a beautiful wife. That's the most important part.
That's perfect. Oh, that's perfect. Everybody ready for Christmas? Okay. Okay. Thank you for your service, and we're honored to have some time with you this morning. Thank you. With that, Mariah Perry, would you call the roll?
Governor Lee, Regent Bradshaw,
Here.
Regent Branscombe,
Here.
Regent Burdine,
Here.
Regent Davis,
Here.
Regent DeWitt, Regent Gentile,
Here.
Regent George,
Here.
Regent Harrell,
Present.
Regent Harriman,
Here.
Commissioner Holt, Regent Kastner,
Here.
Regent Powers, Madam Chair Reynolds,
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds, Regent Richardson,
Here.
Regent Spurgeon, Regent Stevenson,
Here.
and Regent White.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Perfect, thank you. Let's get down to business. We have before you minutes from our September 19 quarterly meeting, that great visit we had to our new Roan State TCAT Knoxville campus there in West Knoxville. Those minutes were provided to you prior to the meeting, but does anyone see any need for any changes or corrections to those? Hearing none, may we have a motion to approve? Thank you, Regent White. Second from Regent DeWitt. Thank you very much. And with that, Mariah, we can do a voice vote, correct? Since we don't have anyone on the line this morning. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from September 19, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much. Chancellor, I'm coming to you next with your report of interim action.
Well, good morning, everyone, and what a great day to be TBR. Thank you all for being here. Madam Chair, the interim action report was included in the materials made available to all board members prior to our meeting today. This report constitutes a record of business transacted by the Office of the Chancellor since the previous quarterly meeting of the board. Madam Chair, pending any questions, I recommend the board's approval of the report of interim action.
Thank you very much. You've had a chance to review the interim action report. Again, this is a pretty standard routine item, but does anyone have any questions for the Chancellor on any of these items? Hearing none, may we have a motion to approve? Thank you, Regent Stevenson.
Second.
And a second. That was Regent Burdine. Thank you. Any discussion? We may also act by this on a roll call vote. All in favor of approving the Chancellor's interim report, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. The next is the report of Personnel and Compensation Committee meeting, which was November 12. I'll briefly make that report on behalf of Regent Powers this morning. The Personnel and Compensation Committee met in a special session, as I said, on November 12, to review and recommend approval of several institutional compensation proposals. As acting committee chair, I will move that the board approve the report of that November 12 meeting on personnel and compensation. Any
Second.
questions? Oh, may I, oh, second, right, thank you. I just made the motion. Okay. I do not think I needed that extra cup of coffee this morning. Okay. Thank you for the second, Regent Stevenson. This one will require a roll call vote since it involves compensation. But first, before Mariah starts, any questions or further discussion? Hearing none. Secretary Barry.
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent Branscombe.
Aye.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Davis.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt. Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harrell.
Aye.
Regent Harriman.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt. Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Richardson.
Aye.
Regent Stevenson.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. Regent Burdine, you also met on November 12th.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. The Audit Committee met in regular session on 12 November 2025 to review and recommend approval of the following items: finding and recommendation logs, miscellaneous external reviews, federal audits, Comptroller's Office audits, and internal audit reports, system-wide internal audit updates, review of annual audits and expenses for the Chancellor and President's fiscal year 2025, review of salaries and budgets for internal auditors, fiscal year 2026 internal audit plan revisions, internal audit charter for Motlow State Community College, review of salaries and staffing for the office system, system-wide internal audit, and consideration and approval of a conflict of interest management plan. Madam Chair, this concludes my report on the 12 November 2025 Audit Committee meeting. As committee chair, I move that the board approve the report of the meeting of Audit Committee as presented.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. We have a motion from the committee. May we have a second? Regent White, thank you very much. Any comments, questions on the Audit Committee work from November? Hearing none, once again, we'll take a roll call vote. Mariah?
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent Branscombe.
Aye.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Davis. Aye. Regent DeWitt. Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harrell.
Aye.
Regent Harriman.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt. Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Richardson.
Aye.
Regent Stevenson.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. It's now time for our report on the Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy, and this is a good one today. I always love these. But importantly, I want to acknowledge that our colleague Regent Kestner has taken on the role of chairing the External Affairs Committee, and we thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds. The Tennessee Board of Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy is a unique designation. Since 2003, TBR has been honoring the dedicated philanthropists and corporate partners who graciously donate their time and finances to TBR institutions through its Excellence in Philanthropy Awards. Today, we will acknowledge the award recipient from the presentation that was made July 28, 2025. Erlanger President and CEO Jim Coleman accepted the 2025 Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy as nominated by Chattanooga State Community College. The award was presented by Regent Tom White during a ceremony at Chattanooga State's Gerald McCormick Center held on July 28, 2025. This nomination and award is reflective of Erlanger's steadfast commitment to higher education at Chattanooga State Community College. Since 1995, Erlanger has generously donated more than $1.75 million to Chattanooga State Foundation, significantly enhancing the college's programs and student opportunities. In 2007, Erlanger donated $40,000 to support the startup costs for the diagnostic medical sonography program. Since 2011, $132,000 has been donated to scholarships. Annual meetings between Erlanger's registered nurses, their leadership team, faculty, and Chat State students provides guidance and insight into the nursing profession. They have contributed $335,000 to establish the first annual Erlanger Nursing Chair of Excellence, which funds stipends, professional development, and faculty salaries. Since 2017, Erlanger has funded stipends for 2 annual chairs of excellence in nursing, professional development, and additional nursing faculty salaries in the amount of $1.5 million. Erlanger has also been a clinical partner with Chattanooga State since the 1980s. This partnership provides nursing students with invaluable hands-on learning experiences, enhancing their clinical skills and professional relationships while giving back to the community. In recognition of Erlanger's impact, the college renamed its Health Science Center to the Erlanger Health Science Center in 2018. On behalf of the Tennessee Board of Regents, we are proud to recognize Erlanger with the highest honor of excellence in philanthropy. And for additional comments, please welcome Chattanooga State Community College President, Dr. Rebecca Ashford.
Well, good morning, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, and all the members of the Board of Regents. It is a true privilege to say a few words about our wonderful partners in Erlanger. Erlanger is a huge supporter and provides philanthropic support for our entire community, but they've been particularly impactful at Chattanooga State. So between the $1.7 million and the over $300,000 in pledges, since 1995, they have contributed over $2 million to Chattanooga State, and it's been incredibly transformational. In addition to their financial support, last year we had the privilege of honoring Jim Coleman, their CEO, at our Dinner of First event. And Dinner of First is a roast, and it is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And last year we raised a record $114,851 in honoring Jim. And I'll let Regent White speak to this year's event in just a moment. But I want to mention that their CEO, Jim Coleman, is a community college graduate. Not only is he a community college graduate, he is a Tennessee Board of Regents community college graduate. He graduated from Cleveland State with a degree in radiography, and that thus began his career in healthcare. So he truly has connections and deep roots with the Tennessee Board of Regents. I'd like to add a few remarks about their impact on the education of our students. In addition to providing scholarships for our students, professional development opportunities in funding through our chairs of nursing for our nursing faculty, again, they offer the most clinical opportunities for all of our health sciences programs, with, of course, nursing being our number one. Additionally, Erlanger is our top employer for the college. They hire an average of 70 students per year, most of those from our nursing programs, followed by other health sciences programs, and the occasional business major. So the impact of Erlanger on Chattanooga State is profound, and I'm grateful that the Regents have selected Erlanger to honor with the Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy. Regent White, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, just to try to fill in the very few items that were missed in this wonderful presentation. First of all, it was a wonderful event held at Chattanooga State, and I was honored to be a part of it. As you said, I think Erlanger is the largest employer in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, and just a tremendous supporter of the school. Obviously, monetary donations, but the health sciences program and the hiring that they do. So you see here, Jim Coleman is the third on the right. Now, the event also included my former employer, so I got to throw in a bone there for Unum. Chattanooga State was honoring, so you see Liz Ahmed, Executive Vice President of Human Resources, and my friend Rachel Hargis over on the left-hand side. Now, you mentioned Jim Coleman, who was the honoree of the Dinner of First event last year, raised a record $115,000. just so everybody knows, that record was broken this year. Yours truly was the event chair. I wasn't the honoree, but I was the event chair. And so we beat them by about $15,000. And all that money goes to the,
And we are very grateful for that.
yeah, to the Tom Ed Wilson First in the Family Scholarship Fund. But just a wonderful event, and thanks so much to Erlanger, and thanks to the board, my fellow board members for recognizing them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, President Ashford. I would also like to recognize Regent Tom White for any additional comments as he was able to participate in the award presentation in July.
All you got.
You're done? Thank you, Regent White. This concludes the Excellence in Philanthropy report. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Kestner. Thank you, Regent White. So for your enthusiastic support. And to Erlanger, Erlanger is one of many examples, along with Unum, of just how generous the Chattanooga community is. So we thank you for your leadership here and beyond. Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. And I'm glad Jim Coleman's a Cleveland State graduate. I did not know that, so that's very exciting. At this time, we turn back to our chancellor for the time we always enjoy, and that's her report of all things going on. So I know you'll take questions and comments along the way, but I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to talk about today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. First of all, I would like to start off by just congratulating Dr. Heidi Lemming for a wonderful event that was held last night to celebrate and launch TBR Cred. Many of you were there, and I thank you for participating. For those of you that don't know, TBR Cred is our new digital comprehensive credential record system for community and technical colleges. And to remind you, we are the first in the country to do this as a system. Last night we had with us some of our partners, national partners from Acro, Credential Engine, Level Data, and Smart Resume. Were there to help us celebrate the launch of this new credential. Beginning with this fall class, students will have, they will receive the TBR Cred in early 2026. It will be all TCAT graduates from this fall and the top 5 programs for our community colleges beginning in January, with the goal that we will have every one of our programs eventually in the system. This has been what I would call not only a labor of love, but a true labor over the last 7 years for Dr. Lemming and her team to make this happen. So could we please give them a round of applause for a great event and making this. At a later date, we will bring back to you again a look at what all of the pieces of TBR Cred look like. Now I'd like to move on to introduce to you what we are continuing to set a national standard in correctional education. Today we have the opportunity to highlight extraordinary progress that's taking place all across our state. In March of 2025, the Tennessee Prison College Coalition was recognized by the Institute for College Access and Success as a national model for success. Now, y'all do start counting. That's twice now I've said we were the national model. Citing the strength of Tennessee's cross-agency collaboration among TBR, the Tennessee Department of Corrections, the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, THEC, and Tennessee Education Initiative. Our collective efforts are transforming lives and strengthening Tennessee's workforce. Through Governor Bill Lee's correctional education investment, TBR now delivers 9 associate degree pathways and 31 technical programs across 11 correctional facilities. In partnership with 7 community colleges and 8 TCATs, greatly expanding access to high-demand credentials. In looking ahead, TBR and the Tennessee Department of Corrections have now partnered to launch a wide range of self-paced online training on BiPath tablets, giving incarcerated Tennesseans scalable, high-quality learning that they can access independently. The biggest breakthrough is that completing the TCAT Technology Foundation course will now count as the first 30 clock hours that is required in more than 90% of our TCAT programs. Putting over 24,000 incarcerated learners access is unprecedented, and it's a pathway toward their skills the workforce preparation, and future credentials. Today, we're going to hear from the newly named TBR Center for Correctional Education, housed in our Office of Academic Affairs under the incredible leadership of Vice Chancellor Jonathan E. Reedy. She is joined by two of our key partners, Christian Paltusik, Deputy Chief of Staff for External Affairs out of the Governor's Office, and Gail Finkel, Assistant Commissioner for Rehabilitation Services and Community Engagement from the Tennessee Department of Corrections. We are truly grateful for these state partners within the Governor's Office, the Department of Labor, Department of Corrections, Tennessee Higher Education, and THEC. I also want to recognize the leadership of our TCAT and community college presidents. Without them, their faculty, and their staff, none of this would have been possible. I'm very proud of the team at the Central Office in Academic Affairs. Each and every one of the contributions that have been made to this success make our state greater every single day. Dr. Reed, if I could now turn it over to you for further explanation on this program.
And to elevate. Everyone has received a notebook that shows you our new logo. And so if you look at the logo, the symbolism is around the work that we're doing collectively in this state unlocks the future to incarcerated Tennesseans so that they can experience both opportunity and student success. So today you're about to hear a very compelling story, not just of our incarcerated learners, but the story of a Tennessee that works collaboratively together so that we can lead the way. This work is possible, again, based on all of the work of our statewide partners that you will hear from today, as each contributes really critical expertise, funding, policy alignment, reentry services, and program delivery. This collaboration enables us to move students from transformation and education all the way to employment. At this time, you will hear from Christian Potisek from the Governor's Office. Christian?
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here on behalf of the governor. I see a lot of friends in the room, so I just want to, on behalf of the governor, thank you for the work you're doing for our state. I know that many of you are very busy and you're giving up your time to do this work, and so thank you for that. Just a little background on the governor's investment in this program. In 2019, he launched this program, and as you know, corrections education, the belief that folks who are incarcerated, majority of whom are going to get out, deserve an opportunity to better themselves, and our state would be better served if those folks were prepared to be productive members of society. And so with that vision, he launched the Corrections Education Initiative, which, as you've heard, is now expanded to 11 facilities, offering 9 associate degrees and 31 technical programs. And as we heard from the Chancellor, it really is getting national attention. We are leading the way, and this board, this body, the work that our external partners have done is really the reason for that. The governor had a vision, but many hands contributed to that vision to make it a reality. And moving on to, there we go. Yeah, as we've said, the program has expanded, received national attention. One thing I want to highlight, it is state funded, no tuition costs, which is obviously an important part of that access that these folks are receiving. And then one thing I want to highlight, obviously I spend my day in external affairs, so the thing that makes this program so special is the collaboration that happens across the entire spectrum of nonprofits, government leaders, departments, our office, this board. I think we all know how difficult that actually is in practice to list that many acronyms who actually sit on a regular basis on that Tennessee Prison College Coalition. Usually that happens when there's a crisis. That doesn't always happen kind of on the front end for that, have that sort of statewide planning, which is why we're experiencing such great success. And I just want to, again, in summary from our office, thank you for your commitment to this program. And I wanted to highlight the kind of great work that's happening. And I will turn it back over to Dr. Reed.
Christian? I want to provide some quick highlights for you before we have our next guest come up. One, I want to highlight that the work in CEI really demonstrates how TBR's mission extends to all Tennesseans no matter where they live or what their circumstances are. This work aligns directly with our TBR 2035 strategic plan and our long-term vision for building tomorrow's college. Correctional education embodies our commitment to access, to workforce relevance, and reaching underserved populations. As we've highlighted again, we created a map for the board to be able to see exactly where our footprint is across the state in terms of our 7 community colleges and 9 TCATs, who are again in all of the prisons across the state. I wanted to highlight our community college partners so that you see who's represented there and the programs that they're offering, and again to highlight our great TCAT partners and the range of programs that they're offering to make an impact within the prisons. Our enrollment is telling a wonderful story. It has grown dramatically. More than 2,100 students have participated since 2019. This year marks our highest enrollment ever with 823 active learners, and participation has increased by 77% since the program's early years, reflecting both student demand and strong institutional commitment. As we look at our awards, our credential completion continues to rise. More than 265 awards have been earned since 2019, including degrees and technical certificates. This year, 65 awards represent our highest annual total to date, represent a 38% increase since 2020. And we want to talk about, we've been doing a lot of great work to really deepen our research capacity, to analyze outcomes, faculty experiences, and the supports that drive student success. Through our partnerships, we're now benchmarking against peer systems in the country, sharing best practices, and strengthening Tennessee's position as a national leader. This data-driven approach is ensuring that our Center for Correctional Education remains high quality and scalable. At this time, it is my joy to welcome Gail Finkel, our Assistant Commissioner, who is a wonderful partner in this work. So Gail, please join us.
Good morning. Oof, that's a little close. Okay, I have my notes on my phone so I can make the font as big as I need it. Before I get started, I wanted to say thank you to everybody. I'm always just endlessly grateful to be the one that gets to testify and brag about all the great things we're doing in education across the state. And it wouldn't be possible if we didn't form these alliances, allegiances, and great partnerships. So thank you to Jothany and her team. And Chancellor, I can't really repeat everything you said because some of that is in our notes. So thank you very much, everyone in this room, for supporting what we're trying to do across the state. I hope you all realize the impact it is having. And I'll finish my little bit with proof of the impact. Okay, so to get started, we're doing great things together. Very excited about all of our partnerships, THEI, TBR, alphabet soup. I think somebody mentions acronyms. We're full of them, especially in correction. So I'm really excited about what's next. We have a lot of great things that are pretty breakthrough coming. Am I driving?
I can do that for you.
Which one?
The white one?
Yeah, the arrow. Okay, perfect. So not only have we built momentum with the programs we're offering inside the prisons, but now we're expanding that to community supervision. And we're offering apprenticeship opportunities to offenders who are under supervision. And I don't know that most people realize it is about the degree, but it's less about the degree and more about bridging that gap to success in the community for all these individuals. Oh, see, I'm going backwards. Oh, just ignore me for a second. Hold on. I'm going to turn on somebody's playlist in a minute. TikTok breakthrough. Yeah. So, drum roll, because we've actually doubled our TCAT footprint in the last 3 years from 16 to 32. So see, we got one more in just the last 20 minutes. Right. And that's a big accomplishment, and I think it's taken the effort of many people. You know, it takes a lot, it takes an army to try to make these things happen. So again, we're grateful for that support, and I'm excited to share that we're now planning to put TCAT content onto the inmate tablets. That's going to allow every inmate across the state, regardless of their custody level or classification, to participate in some programming. And the programs that we're putting on the tablets are ones that will get them just access to, I want to say, the baseline 30-hour requirement for most, almost 90% of TCAT programs. So this is important because it's giving everybody a chance to, build that pathway. I got it right this time. Right, exactly. Drum roll. Okay, so that's not all. While it scares most people to think about having Wi-Fi and connectivity and online distance learning in the prisons, we've enabled it. There are monitors with AV equipment that we have provided to every prison facility in the state that is on a cart. So it's a mobile learning unit, if you will. And we can use this equipment to now enable online learning programs where we can turn any room into an evening classroom where it may not have been, one of our greatest struggles is real estate. We don't have more rooms for more programs. We try to find rooms to turn up a new program, and we're running out of space for that. So we had to get very creative, and with our partnership with TCAT and TBR, now we have programs that we can deliver digitally to the inmate population in any room via online learning, which is the way of the future. It's today, actually. Providing TCAT courses, community college, but also simple basics like communication skills. Okay, well, I mentioned that we have living proof here. So I'm going to introduce someone who is very larger than life, literally, he's a very tall guy. Jeremy White is living proof that education and our efforts to provide programs to the incarcerated population is worthwhile. 95% of these individuals will be our neighbors one day. So the more we can do to, I like to say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Our job is to make them thirsty. This is the bag of salty pretzels. At every graduation that we've had in prisons across the state, regardless of whether it was a university or a college program, to stand in front of some of these individuals, you're really moved by their family's reaction to the fact that they graduated from college while they were incarcerated. So I want to invite Jeremy up. He's going to say a few words. Jeremy is living proof that this works. Where are you? There you are. Come on up.
Good morning. Don't mind me if I sweat a little bit, it's warm. This is a message to the Tennessee Board of Regents, the members. Thank you for allowing me to be here to speak, to share about the success story. Thank you to the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, Jessica Gibson, the Reentry Navigators, to TDOC, Dr. Miley, Krista Jenkins, to Dr. Laura Ferguson Mims, the head of Tennessee Higher Education Initiative, to the governor's office who continues to set stellar standards for individuals who are incarcerated coming home. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and to share not just the work I do within the Tennessee Office of Reentry and the Department of Labor and Workforce Development as a grants program manager, also as a Tennessee Higher Education Initiative peer coach and a participatory defense hub manager with Free Hearts here in Nashville, Tennessee. A deeper story that shapes the vision behind it is that I was at a fellowship last week with Rockwood Institute in San Diego, California. I was reminded that how we lead is as important as the outcomes we strive to achieve. What we learned were three metrics last week: presence, clarity, and credibility. And we had to examine how each one informs the way we show up for justice-impacted individuals here in the state of Tennessee. My journey did not begin in a boardroom or campus hallway. It began spending over 2 decades of my life inside the Tennessee Department of Corrections. I often championed TDOC because it was their staff, it was the wardens, it was the commissioners that were in these spaces that allowed us with the opportunities to really thrive in a way that we couldn't if we didn't have individuals providing those support. Higher education became my anchor in prison, first as a pathway to reclaim my autonomy, and now as a vehicle to expand access for others who share my experiences. The workforce system became the place where I learned to translate lived experience into structural change, policy alignment, and strategic action. When we think about presence, it's not simply about being in the room. It is the groundedness of understanding where I come from, who I serve, and why my voice matters. My presence is informed by every barrier I faced, every moment I doubted my own capacity, and every breakthrough that proved possibility is real. When I stand before you, I stand on behalf of students, employers, or individuals returning home, and I stand with the full weight of my lived experience. After serving 22 years in the Tennessee Department of Corrections, and to give you a little glimpse, I went in at 19 and came out at 41 post-pandemic, and it was tough. But I started higher education in prison through THEI in 2018. I graduated from Nashville State Community College with an associate's degree in business administration and just graduated with a finance degree from Austin Peay State University this past August. So what is clarity? Clarity is the discipline of distilling complex systems into pathways. This board is building pathways, not pipelines. Clarity is that I always didn't have it. I didn't know where I was going to find housing, employment, education, transportation, and most importantly, who my identity was as an individual returning home. Credibility is earned not through titles, but through consistency. I wanted to share this message with you, and I know we were limited on time, but y'all are the future sitting in this room when we think about how systems align and how they impact incarcerated learners. Everyone who's in this room today is shifting and reshaping the state of Tennessee, especially how it applies to returning citizens who are coming home. I came here this morning to extend gratitude, to share my heart, to really extend to TBR and the people in this room that are saving lives and reshaping communities, not just communities, but families and generations of individuals who are returning home. Thank you so much.
Jeremy, this is for you. I shared you were going to have a compelling story. He is the story of all the work that we're doing. At this time, I want to thank our guests, particularly Jeremy, for his transparency and courage and the impact that he's making on the state and his role, for sharing his story with you all. At this time, we will open up for questions, and any of our partners can assist with those questions.
Regent George, Regent Jordan.
Yeah, I have a question if I can. I heard bridging the gap in the communities, and I guess my question is are you talking about when they graduate and they get out of prison? Is there anything that's being done to help them with any kind of housing or transportation? Because going back into the community after being incarcerated for 20-something years, just as an example, it's got to be a very difficult gap to get on your feet and be able to start earning some money and then being able to find a place of your own. Wasn't sure if that's what you were talking about as far as bridge the gap.
Yeah, well, there is two pieces to that bridging the gap. One is the notion that we are going to assist them with programs with TCAT that they can then continue when they're in the community, which is their educational gap. Once they release, where do they go? So we work with them to make sure that they have a plan to get into a college or a TCAT program once they're outside. As far as bridging the gap to reentry into the community, we have reentry services We do provide housing if they qualify for housing. There's some, qualifiers to that. I won't get into all that right now. But we do provide them with transportation if they are going to the DRC, for example. We have 7 day reporting centers and community resource centers across the state. The community resource centers are for any individual that was justice impacted, who can go in and seek assistance with maybe finding felon-friendly apartment facilities or jobs that are second chance employers if they're not aware of anything in their area. We've got a mentor program that we're also starting, which is going to be very vital to transitioning their last 12 months from prison into the community and their first 6 months in the community with support that the mentors can provide by making introductions or assisting with resources specifically in their area. Because some of them might release to rural areas where they don't have the resources that we would have in Nashville or Memphis or Knoxville.
Very good. Good, great work. Thank you, Jeremy.
I'll just, if it's all right, tell a quick story. I was, got to speak at the graduation ceremony at the Heath McMillan College of, Tennessee College of Applied Technology in Elizabeth. Heath makes me call it that, by the way. And I arrived just a little bit late, but when I arrived, there were 30 gentlemen, probably ages 18 to maybe 60-something years old, who were putting on their robes and their caps and their tassels and all that, and they didn't like it. But Tabitha Edwards, who's in charge of the ceremony, made them wear it. And they walked into the room, and the audience just erupted. They all stood and cheered and hollered and hooted, and they're all related to these gentlemen, 30 of them. And all 24 of the 30 have jobs already, by the way. But all 30 were recovering from some sort of addiction. And I got to speak a little bit, and when I got done, the next speaker was the one that really, really inspired me. His name is Stephen Lloyd, Dr. Stephen Lloyd. And some of you may have seen the movie Dope Sick. If you haven't, I'd encourage you to watch it. It's about his life. He was raised in Jonesboro, went to Davy Crockett High School, drug-infested home, somehow became a doctor, became addicted, almost killed himself, eventually became the star witness in the fight against opioids, the manufacturers and the advertising and marketing efforts. Got awarded $55 billion, which is spread across the United States of America. He now chairs the opioid abatement committee that determines where the money goes. I see you nodding up there. You probably have met him before, but an unbelievably inspiring speech. But some of what he said to those 30 gentlemen really struck a nerve. He said, men like me who have money and who've been doctors and lawyers, and we get the help we need. And over 90% of us will recover. But you gentlemen, you 30, only about 8% of you are going to survive. They're going to recover, unless you have the backing of what was in that room right then. So, and he even warned them that some of them are going to backpedal. Some of them go back to their old ways of doing business. But he encouraged them to keep fighting. So look up that movie. I started watching it last night. It's called Dope Sick, and it'll tell the story of how we in Appalachia were targeted by those manufacturers. So, but I was very inspired, and Jeremy, thanks for sharing your story. And there's a lot of you out there, and I encourage you to keep fighting the fight and helping others. So, thanks for listening.
If I may, Vice Chancellor Reed, Christian, thanks again for being here. And on behalf of all of us, thank you again to the governor for his leadership in this and giving TBR the opportunity. Is your colleague Tyler Sloan here today as well? Tyler, hello. Tyler is also in external affairs, and he now leads the governor's boards and commissions work. Some of you have probably been in touch with Tyler along the way, but we're so grateful to you. And he's here this morning because he too serves on the Prison College Coalition. So thank you for your leadership on many fronts, but we appreciate you guys. And Gail, thank you. And Jeremy, most of all, it is your presence, your clarity, and your credibility that has put a spring in our step this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, to continue on this morning, I am very pleased to announce the launch of the inaugural TBR Faculty Innovation Fellowship. This fellowship is a new opportunity within the Maxine Smith Leadership Series. As the board will recall, last December, we shared the full vision for the Maxine Smith Leadership Series. And since then, we have launched the Chancellor's Fellowship, and today we're excited to introduce the next component of that series. The fellowship is a year-long opportunity for faculty members to develop a research-backed student success innovation. In partnership with the TBR Office of Policy and Strategy, they will conduct that work this year. I'd now like to call on Dr. Russ Deaton, who will share more information about the program and announce our inaugural class.
Thank you, Dr. Tidings, Vice Chair Reynolds, members of the board. As the Chancellor said, this is an exciting date for us. You will recall it was about a year ago when Deanna Morris-Stacy presented to you the new vision for the Maxine Smith Leadership Series, building upon a multi-decade history of leadership development that honors former Regent Maxine Smith. The first program launched was the Chancellor's Fellowship. You met those fellows in June in Northeast State. They're now halfway through their first year. 10 wonderful leaders, very intensive leadership development, giving them a broader sense of TBR, the broader Tennessee higher educational landscape. Really good camaraderie within that group. In fact, we will begin the second cohort of that program starting in January, so presidents, get your applicants in mind for that. The second program, as Chancellor said, is the Faculty Innovation Fellows, and this really builds from an idea that emerged from as the brainchild of Dr. Amy Moreland, who then got with Deanna to then build out what a program would look like to provide a chance for faculty to come work with TBR in the innovation space. As Chancellor said, a year-long opportunity. They had their first kickoff meeting a few weeks ago. Well, at the heart of this is developing a research-backed innovation that tries to solve a problem within student success. They'll work with a research mentor from the Office of Policy and Strategy throughout the year and work with each other as they test ideas in the classroom and trying to help solve problems that bedevil TBR. As we look at this first class, all of these three women are teaching final exams today. Couldn't be here, but I will introduce them in absentia. And they are April Crenshaw from Chattanooga State, professor of mathematics, who is building an AI learning tool that she uses in her classroom for learning support. We got to play with this tool a few weeks ago. It is extraordinary. It is wonderful. It comes from her head. It is a wonderful tool to help her students who struggle with mathematics preparation to succeed in that co-requisite class. The next is Leah Frauendienst, also professor of mathematics at Volunteer State. Leah is completely reconceptualizing how Vol State structures its math courses to get the right students in the right courses, in the right pathways at the right time, connected to the right programs. She has a wonderful diagram that lays out all these pathways and options to hopefully better connect students to the right pathway and get them on the pathway to success. And then finally, Tabitha Garman, known to us as Tabby. Tabby's a history professor from Northeast State. Tabby is a self-described gamer, and she wants to bring the concept of online gaming into her history class. And as the father of two teenage boys, I'm excited about this because this may actually work. And so she is building this now and trying to, again, develop an idea that hopefully better connects her students to the concepts that she teaches in her history courses. So these three women are the first cohort. Again, they've had their kickoff meeting, and so throughout this next year, they will meet with Deanna and Dr. Moreland once a month to begin to build out the ideas, test them in the classroom, analyze data, and see what works. We hope, if all goes well, some of these ideas may act as a propellant for other things within the system that can be scaled up to help TBR take advantage of these innovations and scale them up. One last thing. Y'all remember the strategic plan in September. We talked about the history of innovation that TBR has long practiced. We are standing on the shoulders of multiple decades of faculty and staff and system leaders who have built the innovation foundation that we extend today. This is another vector in that space. These three women have ideas that hopefully leverage the cleverness of our faculty and staff to move this system forward. We are happy and honored to have them as part of this first class. With that, I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you, Dr. Deaton. And while I didn't say national in regard to this yet, I feel real sure that one of these ladies is going to have a national program that we'll be talking about. My next topic, though not national, is very important to TBR. As you're aware, we had our sunset hearing that has just happened, both for the Board of Regents and the Tennessee Council for Career and Technical Education. We went before the Joint Government Operations Committee, Health and General Welfare Subcommittee on November 19th. Under the state sunset review process, all state departments and agencies are reviewed periodically by the State Comptroller's Office and then the legislature to determine whether the agencies are performing their missions effectively and efficiently and whether they should be extended, terminated, or modified. Scared me to death the first time they told me we could be terminated. Prior to the hearings, we had delivered detailed responses to the 39 very specific review questions the Comptroller's Office and the committee had asked us to provide. I'm pleased to report that at the conclusion of both of the hearings, subcommittee members voted unanimously to extend the life of both TBR and the council for 4 years. Yay, we can come back. And thanks to all who helped prepare that information. I'd like to thank Mike Batson, specifically Alicia Fox and Kim McCormick, for all the work that they did to help prepare us to get to that point. I'd like to call on Stephen Gentile, if I could, at this moment to talk maybe about your reaffirmation and sunset hearing and the strategic plan for THEC.
Thank you, Chancellor Tidings, Chair Reynolds, and the board. Yeah, we too had our sunset hearing at the same time, and we also got reaffirmed for 4 years. It does, especially when you talk to your staff about what a sunset hearing is, you've got to like say, this is routine, it's going to be well, and it was well. And so thank you for your support there as well. A couple months ago, and I can't believe it's been a couple of months already, we convened the trustees and regents from across the state of Tennessee. Thanks to those of you here today who were able to be there at MTSU to talk about our strategic plan. We've been working this whole past year on developing the strategic plan for higher education, and it's important to say that this is the state's higher education plan. It's not THEC's plan. There are a lot of people in this room who came to meetings and were part of the convenings to help us set forth what this agenda will look like for the next 10 years. Our commission will formally vote on it on January 16th for a special call meeting. I think I'll be brief, but I want to connect what this plan says and where it's going to what I see from TBR System itself. First of all, we believe, and our vision is this, that every Tennessean should have the ability to earn a credential that will bring lifelong success, stronger communities, and a thriving Tennessee. We zero in on 3 A's that we need to see from our higher education system, our ecosystem, over the next 10 years. And that is achievable, that is aligned, and that is agile. Achievable. Achievable is making sure that students are able to enter, and not just enter, but complete and earn a credential, and that they are supported throughout while they are in that education system. And when I think about what that means, what this means is making systemic those that might be exemplars right now or pilot projects. An example, TBR and the success coaches that we have, helping those who come to our community colleges underprepared academically to retain and succeed. Right now, we need to make that systemic. And I know that there's a budget request to make that possible. When we look at the alignment to make sure that our institutions are aligned with each other. We've got since the Focus Act, in which the LGI split out from TBR, we've got a lot of coordinating to do as a state. Making sure that our TCATs are aligned with community colleges and our universities to maximize, like I said, to make systemic those that are exemplars. The relationship between TCAT Crump and UT Martin, for instance, how they have articulated agreements between those two. We need to make that systemic across the state of Tennessee. Also with alignment is to workforce. How can we make sure that students understand the courses they're taking are aligning to their future success? An example of this from the system is launched last night, TBR Cred, where we're able to tell the employers, and this is under Heidi Lemming's leadership here, we're able to tell the employers, this is what the student brings to the table. That's also telling the student, hey, this is what you're bringing to the table. We need to make sure that that is systemic across all of higher education. And then the last one was agile. the big thing that came up over the last year is a recognition that Tennessee has succeeded in higher education when we tackle big problems, when we come together and we recognize what are the biggest challenges affecting higher education in our communities. And to be able to have those convenings, to have those conversations, to be data informed, be able to say, this is what we need to tackle now and going forward. TBR has done a great job of being agile with the data and the research that you guys have under Dr. Deaton's leadership. I went to an event earlier this year in Chattanooga that Troy Grant convened on behalf of all the academic advisors to be able to identify best practices. Having our communities come together, identify those best practices, and making them systemic is where we need to go as a system. I look forward to working with TBR, University of Tennessee, the LGIs, the private institutions over the next 10 years to take this master plan, have it not live on a shelf, but actually inform our research and our legislative agenda. Thank you, Chancellor Tidings, for your time.
Thank you so much. And I do have to tell a quick story on myself. While we were at the sunset hearings, thank goodness Stephen was going right after me, because one of the questions that was posed to me was, what was I going to do to increase lottery sales? The only thing I could think of was buy more tickets. So I quickly turned and looked at Stephen, and he gave a very lucid, great response to the question. So I was so thankful that he was there.
Thank you. Please buy tickets.
May I say one quick thing in response to Dr. Gentile mentioning agile, and we often call it being nimble, right? But the perfect example is what we celebrated this morning with Belmont University. When Dean Honey first went to President Jones and said they'd had this outreach from TBR and nursing, and that we wanted to collaborate together, Greg said to me, he said, well, I figured that was nice, and since you all are a state entity, it would be months before I heard from Dean Honey again about where this was going. He said it was a matter of only weeks before she called me and said, we're ready to sign an agreement. So there's a real-life example of the importance of being agile and nimble and just what that power to move quickly can do. So I couldn't resist layering on there.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for that. And last on my list today is I'd like to talk about our Veterans Day celebrations that we have been holding all across the state. Over the past few weeks, our community and technical colleges have recognized veterans, including students, faculty, staff, community members, and alumni, through the various campus events celebrating their service and their sacrifice. A central part of these ceremonies was the Chancellor's Commendation for Military Veterans, which we introduced in 2020. This award, which you see this is one of the challenge coins, honors individuals who exemplify the values of service, honor, courage, commitment, and integrity. Each of our college presidents nominated one recipient who was a veteran or active duty service member. This year, 35 honorees were recognized, including 19 students, 9 staff members, 6 faculty members, and 1 alumni. Each honoree received a Chancellor's Commendation Challenge coin featuring the insignias of their respective military branch, along with the TBR logo, which symbolizes achievement, respect, and gratitude. Shown here are just a few of the many photos that we received from our colleges that highlight their Veterans Day and Commendation events. TCAT Jackson, President Jaqueen Rainey awarded the Chancellor's Commendation for Military Veterans to the student Marquand Cole, who served in the U.S. Air Force from 2017 to 2024. He then enrolled in the Pipe Fitting and Plumbing Technology program at TCAT Jackson's Humboldt campus, graduating early, and is now enrolled in the Information and Infrastructure Technology program. He has served as their student ambassador, and President Rainey stated that Marquand's character embodies discipline, leadership, integrity, and resilience. At Cleveland State Community College, Bradley Sims, a finance major, who was named Cleveland State's Veteran of the Year, and Air Force Reserve Staff Sergeant Peyton McDaniel, who also serves as Cleveland State's head volleyball coach. Peyton recently completed a 6-month deployment in Iraq and coached most of the season remotely from overseas. She surprised her team as she arrived home on October 31st, right before they faced the Walter State in the TCCAA tournament semifinals that night. She and her assistant coach led the team to a 23-4 overall record for the season and were awarded the NJCAA Regional 6 Coaches of the Year. These are just a few of the examples of the individuals that were recognized for their service on and off campus. Our colleges are strengthened by their unique perspectives, leadership that the veterans bring to our campuses. It is a privilege to recognize these individuals and continue serving our veterans, our service members, and their families across our institutions. We are also proud of the ongoing efforts of our colleges to support veterans and active duty service members, including achieving the VETS Campus Certification, a distinction earned by all 13 community colleges and currently 14 of our TCATs, with additional certifications continuing as we speak. Additionally, all colleges within our system are approved for veterans educational benefits. The Veterans Recognition events at the colleges has been our honor since 2022 to also present a Chancellor's Commendation at the system level. And I said when we established the commendation for military veterans that our colleges are strengthened by the presence of the veterans. They also strengthen our system office. I am proud today to award our system level Chancellor's Commendation to a very distinguished veteran whose work has benefited our students and Tennessee's higher education in general. Our honoree exemplifies the word public servant in all of the very best ways. Growing up in West Tennessee, he attended public schools in Shelby County, and after earning his degree in political science at the University of Tennessee, he proudly enlisted to serve our country and defend our freedom in the U.S. Army from 1986 through 1993. He was trained at Fort McClellan in Alabama as a nuclear, biological, and chemical specialist. In that role, he actively served in the Middle East during the first Gulf War Operation Desert Storm with the 130th Rear Area Operations Center. His service there was exemplary, earning multiple commendations and honors, including the Kuwait Liberation Medal, the Southwest Asia Service Medal, and the Army Achievement Medal, before concluding the active duty phase of his service with the rank of sergeant. After establishing a successful commercial real estate business in Chattanooga, his wife's hometown, he wanted to continue public service and serve his community. The list of organizations that he volunteered to serve with are way too long to name them all here today, but they do include the Chattanooga Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, the PTA, where his two daughters attended school, the Ruritan Club, the VFW, and the American Legion, and the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Planning Commission. And then he sought to serve on a much broader scale. He won election to the State House of Representatives in 2004 and served 7 terms in the 104th through the 110th General Assemblies through 2018, when he chose not to run for re-election, maybe because there was a beautiful grandbaby. His calm, reasoned, and rational approach to legislation and his leadership abilities quickly became evident to his colleagues, and he rose steadily through the ranks, serving as chair of various committees and subcommittees, including chair of the powerful Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee, which reviews agendas and approves all state budgets and spending bills. As part of only his 3rd term, he was elected by his colleagues as House Majority Leader, the second-ranking position behind only the Speaker. As Majority Leader, he worked closely with 2 governors who greatly advanced higher education, Governor Phil Bredesen and Governor Bill Haslam. During this time, he sponsored and shepherded the Haslam's administration's most important legislation through the House, including the groundbreaking Tennessee Promise legislation and the first statewide program in the nation to pledge tuition-free community and technical college to new high school graduates, and then the Tennessee Reconnect Initiative, which offered the same promise to adult Tennesseans. I'm very proud that he has loaned a framed, signed copy of the Tennessee Promise legislation and the pens used for those signatures, which hangs in the wall upstairs outside of my office. I could go on talking about our honorees' accomplishments, but I'm going to conclude with some words from House Joint Resolution 153 that was approved by both legislative chambers in 2018 to honor this colleague. Gerald McCormick distinguished himself as a public spirited citizen of the highest order and is an exceptional asset to the good people of Chattanooga and Hamilton County. And I would like to add to the people of Tennessee, the resolution continued to say that throughout the outstanding career as a public servant, Representative McCormick worked tirelessly on behalf of the state, his constituents, with great honor, bearing the traditional values of hard work and common sense. I could not agree more. In his retirement from the General Assembly, he continued to serve in many ways, and he has provided not only me, but our entire system with invaluable advice and support that has helped us deliver our mission of student success and workforce development. If Dr. Kim McCormick would step forward, please, and let me present her.
Wow. Well, Chancellor gave me a heads up, so I thought I would be prepared, but I really fooled myself with that. Good thing is about this is Gerald's actually watching. He's here today. He's didn't know why he was watching, but now he does. But I think I can speak on his behalf to say thank you to all of you. Higher Ed and the Board of Regents is very important to him. As Chancellor said, he appreciated the opportunity to carry the promised legislation for Governor Haslam. He loves serving with you, Representative Holt, Commissioner, and all the other people that he served with. But, you know, one thing that Gerald has said, if you've ever seen a podcast or an interview with him, it's very important for him for there to be women in leadership across the state. We have 2 daughters, as Chancellor said, and he enjoys the fact that there are women in leadership that can serve as mentors to our daughters. And if you think about, he said this before, the Board of Regents, we have 2 of the most powerful female leaders in the state of Tennessee running this board, with Vice Chair Reynolds and Chancellor Tidings. So they are here to serve as mentors for all young women across the state of Tennessee. So we are, again, our family is so thankful for this, and it will be very cherished. Thank you. And all of you.
That completes my report.
Thank you. Well done. And Kim, thank you for giving us the chance to honor Gerald and you and your family. We are grateful. And Gerald, we're glad you're tuning in today. See what you've been missing if you haven't been watching. So thank you for everything. That was lovely. Thank you. There is no unfinished business to come before the board, so we will move on to new business, although I will follow up briefly on Jeremy's comment that it's a little warm in this room. If you had been out here last Friday, you would be wishing for a blanket. It was so bitter cold in here. So I think the folks are still looking to try to calibrate a little bit. So enjoy the warmth. It was actually colder to go outside. I mean, better to go outside in the cold and have a meeting than to try to assemble here. It was so cold. Oh, we have several items under informational reporting today. And Vice Chancellor McCormick, I will invite you and Chris Perkins up for the good news from our annual fundraising report.
All right, I'm gathered. So, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellors, members of the board, you're about to hear a very enthusiastic, as always, report from Mr. Chris Perkins, our Associate Vice Chancellor. External Affairs has been very busy this semester preparing for what we always call our high season, which is next semester, getting everything ready for SOAR, all that we do with the General Assembly and the advocacy on behalf of TBR, But Chris has been very busy over the past semester and actually the entire year working to raise friends and funds for TBR to increase and enhance the size of the board, scholarships, and everything he does also with athletics. So with that, I will ask Mr. Chris Perkins to come up and give his annual report on fundraising. Chris?
And as we all know, Chris never is very excited about any of this.
Well, Madam Chair Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, Dr. McCormick, members of the board, it is my honor to come before you again this year to provide an update on community college fundraising, as well as the Foundation for the College System of Tennessee for fiscal year 25. Vice Chair Reynolds, I know my last report, you liked that it was an ESPN type report, so I'm thinking I'm more like Lou Dobbs on this one, and we'll bring that to you. With my new responsibilities with advancement and athletics, I've been given, our office has grown, where I share Patrick Boggs and Mason Berry with government and public relations. And I now have Lottie Hooper working full-time with me as an accountant for advancement and athletics. And as we begin this report, I tell you once again that this foundation would not be where it is without Lottie and without the help that Carol Tomlinson gave throughout her time working with me, without our amazing, amazing foundation board, our incredible presidents, our college presidents, and our wonderful staff, including Dr. Russ Deaton, Amy Moreland, who arm me with data when I go out and talk to potential donors that make me actually look smart. They're wonderful. Dr. Reed, Alicia Fox, and everyone at TBR, they make coming into work every day a joy as we try to pave new roads to break barriers down to provide opportunities for our students. So in a nutshell, FY25 has been an outstanding year. Combined, our 13 community colleges increased their giving over $6 million from last year. We had 3 community colleges that raised over $4 million, with Dyersburg State leading the way at $4.6 million. Nashville State was at 4.37, and Roane State was at 4.31. And I said this to Dr. Whaley. Last year he was real close to being 1, and he may be passing the hat around again to try and bridge that gap, Dr. Jackson. So I think of him like Susan Lucci sometimes on My Children and the Academy Awards. Or the Emmy Awards. Slide 3 says that we had a total, for the first time since I've been here, we had 9 community colleges that raised a minimum of $1 million. And we had 10 community colleges that increased their giving from FY24 to FY25. I'm so proud of our community colleges and their advancement officers. Walter State and Pellissippi State raised $2.9 million and $2.3 million respectively. And then Chattanooga State, Southwest Tennessee, Cleveland State, and Northeast State all eclipsed $1 million. So kudos to all of them. And I like showing this slide to kind of show where we began as a foundation for the College System of Tennessee in FY18. We started in FY19. But the year prior, FY18, this year was a really, really good one for our foundation as we raised just under $1.1 million for the foundation. As you can see, since we started in FY18, the foundation continues to grow, and it allows us to help students across the state. I can tell you that through October 31st of this fiscal year, which I'll report on next year at this time, we are 1/3 of the way through FY26. We have over $600,000 in cash and in-kind gifts. And I'm so proud to let you know that at the beginning of FY26, our foundation established our first endowment through First Horizon and former Regent Green. We have now an endowment of $500,000 $513, 500,000, I'm gonna get it out, 513,251.32. Our executive board and all of our foundation board members will work with me to grow this initial investment over the years so that we can leave a mark in perpetuity for future generations. So as I told you all last year, we have redefined what a major gift is to our foundation. They've really grown since we started this back in fall of 2019. I will tell you that you will see a gift here from Anonymous. I received a call in the summer on my cell phone from a guy, from a number in Seattle, who said he represented a wealthy family who was going through some issues. Well, that piqued my interest. And he said that the family needed some work done at their house, faced a situation where the technician couldn't get there in a timely manner because there was a workforce shortage where they were. This prompted the family to want to delve into technical education and technical colleges. He said they wanted to do something with the TCAT in Nashville. So I immediately got in touch with President Nathan Garrett on the next call. And John, the guy who called me, also said that this family wanted to, he goes, we're looking at a toe in the water gift. It's not going to be that much, but they wanted to do something. So I got President Garrett on the call. President Garrett had already come up with a great idea for a TCAT Nashville trade gear initiative, which would fund toolkits or PPE for first trimester students who needed toolkits to start their programs. So we met with John Erickson, the caller from Seattle, who initially called me. We met with him on 2 different occasions, and President Garrett convinced John that this would be a worthy cost to help retainment for those students and help start their programs off with a bang. On our 3rd meeting, John complimented me on my patience and working with a complete stranger and trusting, because I didn't know this guy from Adam's House Cat. And so he said, you've been patient and understanding. So Nathan and I are on the call. He goes, Chris, you've been patient, you've been understanding. I probably should tell you who the family is. Me, I'm thinking, he knows a wealthy family somewhere here in Nashville, and I'm just wondering who it is. And then he proceeds to tell me, we're on a Teams meeting. He goes, well, the wealthy family is Helen and Charles Schwab. And 2 seconds went by, and Nathan texts me, and he's like, did you know this, in all caps? And I said, I absolutely had no idea. And if we were in a meeting together, I'm sure Nathan and I would be kicking each other under the table. But so I can tell you that in this fall trimester, we were able to help 170 students at TCAT Nashville, and 163 students successfully committed to the next trimester. The goal of this initiative on this first gift was 80% retention. And Nathan just reported yesterday it's at 96.5%. So, so this initial toe in the water gift was $200,000, $100,000 for the fall trimester, and then we're receiving a check this week for another $50,000 for the spring, and then as soon as that's fulfilled, we'll get another $50,000 from them. Their goal is to fund more colleges next year. When John came and toured TCAT Nashville with Chancellor Tidings, myself, Nathan, and Dr. McCormick and John Williams, he told me on the way over they've been so pleased with this. They want to expand it to other colleges and expand what they're giving. So we're really excited about that. But I will say that this then prompted our board chair, Eric Kleinheit, our foundation board chair, to take his wife, Amy, and his gift of $100,000 to the foundation and put it towards our endowment for a statewide trade gear initiative. And Eric's very disappointed that Anonymous is on that gift list because he said, you know, for the first and only time in my life, Amy and myself would be on a list with Charles and Helen Schwab, but couldn't do that. So next slide. So this is where we're really super proud in how we've grown in our assets. I can tell you that in our financial report through October 31st of this year, we are now over the $3 million mark in total assets, which is the most we've had in our history. We finished the year at $2.81 million last year. Next slide, please. And like I said last year, and I'll repeat myself again this year, the area of scholarship awards is where I truly feel our foundation has made its lasting impact. I update this every year to show you where we have come from FY11 to FY18. A total of $229,000 in scholarships were awarded. Since we became the foundation for the College System of Tennessee in FY19, we have now awarded over $1 million in scholarships. Through October 31st of this year, our first third of the fiscal year, we've awarded another $130,000 in scholarships. If I had to pick one thing that I'm most proud of with our foundation, it's this, that we get to help the students across our state. Next slide. So I just wanted to show you a couple of students that have benefited from the scholarships we've awarded through the foundation. First slide you see is Lydia Sosa Lopez, an LPN student at TCAT Jackson who received the James Burdett Brown Scholarship. Next slide. And the next slide is Alicia Cotner. She's in the RN program at Pellissippi State and is currently working at the Park West Medical Center. Next slide. So I wanted to put this slide together to show you the people that sit on our board and who they represent. And we are thankful for the TCAT presidents who helped get this foundation up and running years ago, but are so grateful now for the individuals and corporations that have become our choir. I always say we're preaching to the choir. Well, we've got a heck of a choir to go out and spread the good news. And that's just, they've been so amazing. And we're so thrilled to have Regent Kastner now as our representative from the Board of Regents on the foundation board. And we're equally thrilled to have former Regent Danny Varlin as our vice chair of the foundation board. And Burton Williams, we're creating a new executive board position on our foundation for scholarships and strategic planning to help manage our endowment. So Burton's agreed to take on that position. And now we've got another financial expert in Regent Kastner that can help grow with Eric and the outstanding people we have leading that board. Next slide, please. So, as you know, over the past year, we lost our beloved Vice Chancellor of HR, April Preston. Her husband asked that in lieu of flowers, donations be made in her memory to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. In August of this year, I had the distinct honor to drive Chancellor Tidings and Vice Chancellor Jothany Reed to Memphis and meet up with Regent Nisha Powers. We took a check for just under $9,000 that we raised amongst faculty, or amongst TBR staff here and friends of TBR to Catherine Higdon, Senior Director of Foundation Relations for St. Jude's. During our tour of the facility, Catherine and her team talked about their expansion in research and all of the things that they were planning. And in true TBR fashion, Chancellor, Dr. Reed, and Regent Powers were quick to let them know about the great work we were doing with Vanderbilt and HCA in familiar areas. So you'll be pleased to know that we had our second meeting in recent weeks, this week, with St. Jude's, and you're starting to see the beginning of a beautiful potential partnership. And you can feel April's presence when you talk to them. And then I wanted to also let you know that just last week, our TCATs and community colleges that have food pantries have received or will soon receive $222.50 apiece to the tune of $6,450 raised in our first April Preston Memorial Food Pantry Drive. I met with Enterprise yesterday for lunch, and Abigail Moore, who's on our foundation board, was so moved by this that they're committing $2,500 for the next food drive that we do in April's memory. So I'll keep you posted on that. Next slide. And Vice Chair Reynolds, it seemed like you enjoyed that ESPN style presentation last time. So I wanted to have one slide that just showed my new duties to give you all an update on our fall sports season and what a season it was. Cleveland State, as was noted earlier, won the regular season in women's volleyball. And what Chancellor didn't tell, or may not have told you, the assistant coach was her brother. So we're hoping that there's not a Johnny Majors, Phil Fulmer takeover in coaching. But no, she came back and guided them to a regular season championship. And Pellissippi State ended up winning the tournament in the bid to NJCAA Nationals. Montlow State won the women's soccer regular season and tournament championship before losing to Iowa Western Community College in the NJCAA Central District Championship game. Pellissippi State won both the men's and women's TCCAA state championships in cross country in Knoxville. And Pellissippi men's soccer won the NJCAA Southeastern District Championship and went on to compete for the second consecutive year at the NJCAA National Championship in Wichita. Congrats to all of the teams. Men's and women's basketball is now underway, and it's been an honor to see all of our student athletes, coaches, and presidents out on the road. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
How many various sporting activities have you been to this fall?
I'm not going to lie, I needed a nap after the fall, but probably 20, at least 20
That's
across
great.
the state. So
Thank you.
At
Any
least.
questions or comments for Chris in this amazing report on so many levels? Well done. Keep it up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Moreland, you are going to update us on our dashboard for 2035, Building Tomorrow's College.
Yes, that's right. Good morning, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, and members of the board. In the spirit of the holiday season, we are going to attempt to tie a nice Christmas bow around the strategic plan that you all adopted at your September quarterly meeting. On behalf of TBR's research and data team, we are really excited today to debut a new publicly available data tool that will help us track progress towards the goals of the TBR strategic plan. As you know, as you will remember, in September, you all as a board adopted a strategic plan that sets a bold vision for the decade ahead. Building Tomorrow's College positions TBR as a system to meet the needs of Tennessee students and communities through 2035. And as you will recall, that plan is built on several components. The pillars of our work, a set of strategic priorities for the decade ahead, and key practices that will help us meet those goals. You saw those components, the pillars, priorities, and practices in September, and you've seen many of them referenced already today in presentations and through connections with TX Master Plan. But today, we're introducing a new tool to help us track that last component, our progress. When Dr. Deaton presented the strategic plan to all of you back in September, the presentation included several metrics of success. Those metrics included data that reflected our open access mission, our focus on post-secondary completion, and our commitment to community and workforce development. You see some of those metrics here. That September presentation also included measures that we would use to track our progress toward the plan's 3 strategic priorities. Those priorities of connecting academic pathways and student experiences to real career opportunities. That priority to improve the college processes by centering student success. And our ongoing priority to improve collaboration within the system and with our partners. And so today, in response to that, we're, as I said, happy to announce the public release of a new interactive online data dashboard that's designed to help us as a system track our progress on these very measures. Now, before I show it to you, I'll say a little bit about its development. Early in the development of this new tool, at a meeting of the Strategic Plan Steering Committee, Chancellor Tidings and a group of presidents and other steering committee members were gathered talking about the strategic plan, and they shared their reflections on what they would hope to see in a metrics dashboard. Their vision really drove our approach, and they used a metaphor that really stuck with us. They described how to really meet the goals of the TBR strategic plan, we would need a scoreboard for the system. Now, I'll be the first to admit I'm not the expert on sports that you might think that I am, but I'm guessing when you are watching Chancellor Tidings' Georgia Bulldogs in the college football playoffs, that you probably don't look up at the scoreboard and say, wow, what a fantastically designed scoreboard. But let's pretend that you did for just a moment. What makes for a good scoreboard? As we thought about that question on the research and data team, we said, well, a good scoreboard is highly visible and central. When you're on the field or in the stands, you can glance up and see what the score is. We also said a good scoreboard is focused on the high-level story. You don't have to be a statistician to understand the scoreboard, but you know there are other resources you could turn to see the play-by-play. We also know that a good scoreboard is updated as soon as there is action to report. So with that framework in mind, we set out to build a strategic plan metrics dashboard that is highly visible and accessible and now available on the TBR website as part of the strategic plan. It's focused on the highest level metrics, but acknowledges that there are over 50 other data dashboards where you can go for more information. And it's designed to be refreshed regularly as new data becomes available. But the last thing we thought about when we imagined a good scoreboard was that, picture yourself watching a game, you're in the stadium. What is often right next to that scoreboard? Ooh, that's good. We should have ads. We haven't thought of that yet. What we did think of was the Jumbotron, right? That secondary screen that brings the score to life. So in that same spirit, as part of our strategic plan metrics work, we're working to add qualitative measures from students, faculty, staff, and partners alongside the quantitative metrics that you're used to seeing from us. It's our hope that in the same way that the Jumbotron brings the score to life, that those lived experiences will help contextualize the scores and help us see the story behind the numbers. So with all of that in mind, let me show you what this new scoreboard looks like and how it works. I'm going to share just a few screenshots of that online tool for you to see, really just to give you a sense of its design and functionality. As I go through these images, there may be data points you can't quite see in this format, and that's okay. No need to focus on those individual data points, and we'll move quickly through them. Really just want to give you a sense of the visual feel of the tool and what it can do, and then we'll pull some data out of it. Here you can see the homepage of the new Strategic Plan Metrics dashboard that we're releasing today. From this page, in the menu at the bottom, you can choose to explore various metrics aligned with each of the plan's pillars and priorities. For example, if you were to click in the Open Access section, you would see this particular page, just one example of a page from this new dashboard. This example that we pulled just highlights some regional trends in dual enrollment. One important feature of this new scoreboard is its emphasis on regional and county level trends. A lot of our work, our reporting to you in the past has often focused on statewide metrics, and that is sometimes appropriate, but this new tool introduces additional ways to see regional and county level trends in hopes of really localizing the data. Here's just another example from this new tool, this time from the section on our post-secondary completion pillar. This particular view, which again, you may not be able to see all of the data in this format, but the reason I pulled this example is that it highlights a new metric that we have not traditionally reported. The particular metric here is the number of students who are graduating from a TCAT or a community college while they are still in high school as a dual enrollment student. And even if you can't quite see all of the numbers in this format, you can see that the bars have grown quite a bit in the last decade, that the number of students in this category has tripled in the last few years. This is just a good example of how this new scoreboard is revealing measures that we have not traditionally tracked and reported much in the past, but that we're adding here because we think it'll be central to the work of the decade ahead. And then one more quick example just to illustrate what this tool includes. This example just shows employment rates for graduates of TBR colleges. And you'll notice that on each of these pages to the right of the data figure, there's a sentence in plain language with key takeaways to hopefully help make this data easily understood and interpreted. So now that you've seen just a few examples of what our new scoreboard includes, I want to pull some data out of this tool just to give you a deeper sense of what this dashboard can really do and what it can tell us about our system's progress. So I'll close just by using this tool to illustrate a few new data insights that this new framework revealed to us. I'll say it is hard to stump the TBR research and data team, but we found a few things in this tool that were surprises to us, ways of thinking about the data that this new framework made possible. And so I'm going to show you just a handful of data points that caught us by surprise and that I hope you find interesting and were really made possible just by this tool. We said earlier that a good scoreboard is one that shows the big picture, right? So let's see how that big picture looks. Historically, our reporting to you, as you may have noticed, will often separate TCAT data from community college data and present them separately. But in this new tool, in the spirit of the big picture, we set all of the data to show you the system level impact first, and then you can drill down to community college data or TCAT data if you choose. But when we take that big picture system view, we saw something that was a surprise to me. For years, we've been saying that TBR serves approximately 140,000 students a year. That is on our website and marketing materials. Well, we learned that's due for an update. Because when we track that big picture view at the system level, we see that our system now serves 153,000 unique students last year, representing an 8% increase over the year prior. Again, this insight's just made possible by the new scoreboard's focus on system level impact. Something else that this new scoreboard allows us to do is turn our attention to trends for specific student groups. In this case, just to show you an example, we'll turn our attention to trends in enrollment for low-income students, defined as students who received a federal Pell Grant during that year based on their family or household income. We know that TBR colleges serve a higher share of low-income students than any other sector in Tennessee higher ed, and last year, TCATs and community colleges combined enrolled over 50,000 low-income students, representing a 19% increase over the prior year. That growth year over year appears to be driven by a few factors. Some of that is overall enrollment growth, but we think some of that is also driven by a federal policy change in 2024 that you may have seen in the news when the federal application for financial aid was significantly simplified and designed to make it easier for students to access the Pell Grant and broaden the group that was eligible for the Pell Grant. So this data is allowing us to see that impact, both of more low-income students enrolling and potentially more existing students qualifying for financial aid due to federal policy changes. Again, just one example of a new insight this tool is revealing to us about our system. Since we saw those increases in enrollment among low-income students, we also said, well, we need to see there are successes for low-income students. And we observed, well, we're seeing double-digit improvements this year compared to last year in the number of low-income students that are graduating. You see those numbers here for both community colleges and TCATs, representing progress toward both our open access vision and our completion goals. And then one just last example that I'll leave you with, the dashboard highlights how TBR colleges contribute to economic mobility and opportunity for Tennesseans. And so this dashboard continues to do what we've been doing for years, which is tracking employment rates for graduates. The new scoreboard allows us to see what that looks like for special populations of students. And it also allows us, as you see here, to identify system leaders who are excelling in these metrics. For example, you see here Walter State and TCAT McMinnville, which lead the system in employment rates for formerly low-income students. Just another feature that this new scoreboard allows us to highlight here those system leaders. So that new metrics scoreboard is available on the TBR website from the homepage where the strategic plan is located. I'll close by saying that the new strategic plan pushes our data and reporting forward in some new directions. In many ways, we think that the plan challenges us to innovate in our priorities, but it also challenges us to innovate in how we are measuring those priorities and the methods that we as research and data team members are using to do so. And that's a bit of an ambitious undertaking, especially to add all of those qualitative measures of the experiences of students, employees, and partners. And so what we're releasing today is the first draft, but we hope this expands and grows in the months to come. And to that end, we've invited data leaders from across the system to join a metrics working group that will convene early in 2026 to help us keep adding to this tool. But going forward, you'll see that most of our data reporting and presentations will draw directly from this framework that you've seen today. In fact, later on this morning's agenda, Dr. Deaton will share a data update on TCAT enrollment and success that applies this very framework and features data that we pulled out of this new scoreboard. But in the meantime, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the strategic plan metrics dashboard.
Questions or comments, Regent Branscombe?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but wow. And that is incredible information. Thank you so much for all the team that worked on this. That helps, that's a shorthand, especially for us newbies here. When people ask us about what's going on with the community and colleges of applied technology, but great data. Thank you.
And to build on what you said, I was sitting here thinking too, Amy and Russ, think about if there's something that could consistently be fed to the board or put in our books for each quarterly meeting. I know this is voluminous, but what out of this are the highlights, right? That almost our talking points are just to better inform us that could be shared just as a matter of course and continuously or on some cycle that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So anybody else? Mr.
I just want to
Bradshaw?
add too, I've been playing around a little bit with it and it's super easy to use, which is great. So it's kind of plain language, easy. You don't have to be a scientist to get to it. So I look forward to looking more through it. I think I've done a really good job of presenting the data in a way that a lot of people can use, which is good. And I do think that we'll all look at the scoreboard at the Georgia game for sure at this point.
Admire the numbers, yeah.
And we won't be looking at the score.
Anybody else? Accountability matters. Thank you for great work.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Thank you, Dr. Moreland. So Russ, you're a sports guy. How are you going to build on these continuing metaphors today?
Amy told me she had a tortured sports metaphor to weave into her presentation. That was not tortured at all. That was really well done. So I got to say that I'm impressed with that. We're going to, well, you've seen so far today the strategic plan threaded through lots of presentations. That's very intentional, of course. We hope to continue that in board meetings ahead. We're going to continue the melody of the strategic plan with our TCAT overview next. Enrollment and success overview. And again, those pillars that you've seen from the strategic plan now, reaffirmed in September, but for several years, open access, completion, and community and workforce development. That'll structure the conversation here for the next few minutes. First, open access about TCATs. You have probably heard Chancellor Tidings before at the budget hearings and others talk about the preliminary fall enrollment for TCATs that we are seeing so far. We are up 13% year over year. The dust hasn't settled yet. Things tend to change week to week. We're almost done, so this is not going to move much. But 13% year over year growth in the TCAT sector. That's a remarkable number. You saw community college enrollment growth we talked about in September. TCAT's up 13%. Notably, that is largely in the dual enrollment space. That's up 20% year over year. New student enrollment's down a little bit. We think those will bounce back, but the bulk of the growth is in the dual enrollment space. Overall, TCAT's up 13% year over year. Some notable numbers across colleges. You see here in the dual enrollment space, we've had some colleges year over year, double-digit growth. In fact, TCAT Morristown, triple-digit growth. They're building back up, rebuilding some things that President Cox is doing there. But overall, you see some tremendous growth throughout the state. These are not necessarily obeying regional patterns. You're seeing this everywhere. So again, statewide growth in dual enrollment. Also new students. Even though the overall sector level numbers flat, you see remarkable growth in new students at several colleges, Athens, Oneida, Huntsville, etc. We often talk about where that growth is occurring, which programs do we see students, where the demand really exists. You'll see sort of the top 8 here, mostly the familiar programs, welding, auto, cosmetology, etc. These have changed a bit over the course of the years. As dual enrollment has grown so much, a lot of the programs that dual enrollment students are attracted to really then move up in these numbers. Building construction is a good example of that. That has gone from around 500 students in 2020 to now almost 2,000. So some changes in the program array that you see. We still see, though, tremendous growth rates in certain programs. Forestry and Ag, Commissioner, you'll note, is number 1 there, IT, patient care, etc. So lots of growth across the board from a program perspective. Now, stepping back, let's take into account all of that enrollment and look at what we have just completed this academic year with a little bit of history. If you take those red bars first, that's the dual enrollment growth from the first year, from the pre-pandemic year to current year now, from around 7,000 to almost 23,000. Again, we have seen this familiar story from both a supply side and the demand side in K-12. There is tremendous appetite for greater dual enrollment opportunities. That has driven a 3-fold increase in TCAT dual enrollment. We've also seen traditional students increase from 15,000 to about 18,000. The bulk of this enrollment increase is coming in those years post-pandemic. You saw kind of a flat line for a few years, and we are rapidly accelerating into the year 2025 with around 40,000 students. Now, let's take that number, take that 40,000 combined number in 2024-25. Let's layer onto that then what we call in the TCAT world supplemental special industry. Think workforce development, workforce training. In addition to what you just saw on the dual enrollment and preparatory side, another 11,000 or so students in the supplemental special industry training. That number has also rapidly grown from 5 years ago, around 7,500 to around 11,000. That's about 45% growth in just those 4 or 5 years. Taking all that into account then, this chart just simply sums up all of that. So you now have 51,000 students enrolled at TCATs. This is part of the number you saw from Dr. Moreland a few moments ago. The system-wide number, 153,000, TCATs, 51,000, growing from around 30,000 just 5 years ago in the last year before the pandemic. Remarkable growth, driven largely by dual enrollment, but also by new students as well. Second pillar, the focus on completion. Last year, the TCATs awarded 8,309 total credentials throughout the academic year, about 6,000 diplomas, about 2,000 certificates, both of which have grown rapidly in the last 5 years, particularly the last 3 or 4 years, as we see in the data. If you then take a larger historical perspective, this puts that 8,300 number in context of the last 15 years. And you see that number exceeds every year that we have on record. In fact, it even surpasses the previous record set during the Great Recession of around 8,140 credentials in 2011. So, bottom line is a new record credential count for the TCATs, which is a remarkable growth story for them these last 15 years. Growth is occurring everywhere. I want to highlight TCAT Shelbyville, plus 29% year over year. And over the last 5 years, Gwen Sutton, wherever you are, Memphis, plus 104%, a doubling of their credential count in just the last 5 years. Remarkable growth across the state. Finally, workforce development. In many ways, the TCATs are part of the backbone of the Tennessee economy. We can measure through our Career Start Here dashboard how many graduates are in the Tennessee workforce throughout their post-higher education career. If you look 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years out, you see the numbers in that top banner, how many of those graduates are in the Tennessee workforce at those junctures. At 1 year, 85% of TCAT graduates are in the workforce. After 3 years, 78%, leveling out to about 75% 5 years later. And you see the 3 exemplars leading the way in each of those data metrics at Athens, Hartsville, and McMinnville. So in summary, we are seeing enrollment again up 13%. That number continues to increase, mostly by dual enrollment. Again, the highest number of credentials ever conferred by the TCAT sector this past year at over 8,300. And again, our graduates from TCATs highly likely to be employed in the Tennessee workforce, being part of the backbone of their local economies. With that brief overview, happy to answer questions if there are any. Regent Kastner.
One quick question. Your last slide where you talked about percentage of grads employed, I think you said, you carefully said in Tennessee. Is that accurate? So
That's
those-
correct, yeah.
So one of the things I've always worried about is I get an A&P certificate to work on airplanes and I move to Ohio, so.
Correct.
But you're
Which does
showing that
happen,
that
right,
is not
yeah.
happening very often. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and Tennessee more broadly is making efforts, I'm thinking, Stephen, of PSEO right now, to be able to look across state lines, Regent Castor, and get a more holistic picture of where our graduates go. We, in a few years, will probably be able to tell you an overall nationwide number. I hope that's where we'll get to, but for now, yes, this is just Tennessee.
Well, no one can argue that we're not getting a return on investment at the state
Amen.
level because they're staying here, employed here.
That's right.
That's what's so, thank you.
So I have a question. The 75% employment rate after 3 years, do you track whether or not that's specific to their certificate or the awards that they get versus just being employed?
We do, we know the broad industry in which they are employed in the sub-industry level. We don't necessarily yet know the specific occupation that they're employed in. We know they would work at, say, FedEx, for instance. So there is limited data from Department of Labor about the specific occupation. But in most cases, we think at TCATS, they're in the industry in which they were trained.
Very good, thank you.
Commissioner Holt, oh, I'm sorry, Stephen, can you hold your thought? Commissioner Holt, I saw your little shout out on forestry and agriculture, which is terrific. What do you think that tremendous growth, what's contributed to that growth?
A new commissioner? No,
Oh.
just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. No, I think there's, well, I can give you a short answer, I can give you a medium answer, or a long answer, but I'll give you the sort of medium answer. So we do ascribe to this theory that in agriculture and forestry, we did send so many students into so many directions other than in careers that were focused on outdoor interaction, agricultural interaction, forestry interaction, that we've finally been able to combat back years of saying, you'll never make it in life if you go back to the farm, you'll never make it if you go into the forest. And we're seeing a resurgence and a redevelopment of that interest through both through some conventional means, just because it's a very attractive lifestyle, but then also because we're putting concerted effort into saying, we want to, thanks to your help, put programming in place to professionalize some of these career options that are present in every county in the state. There's always going to be forestry, there's always going to be agriculture. And so trying to professionalize those employment opportunities that, in the way that you all have done, I think has presented itself an unlocking of a whole new career option that a lot of students were told that's not an option, and it's now an option. And from the bottom of my heart, and from several different division leaders who I talked to for 2 hours on the way up here today, and said, if given the chance, what do I need to get across, is that these TCATs give us engagement for forestry like we've never had before. We hope that that will also be precision agriculture. We're seeing that develop. We'd love for that to be meat processing. We'd love for that to be a list of other opportunities, and that's why we're so deeply engaged, and I hope I can continue to be engaged at this level, and I hope that we can send that number even higher. And certainly appreciate you all taking the concerted effort toward focusing on agriculture and forestry, because in case anybody doesn't know, if you don't remember anything else I've said, agriculture and forestry in 2024 was $103 billion with a B, billion-dollar industry. It's the state's largest economic contributor. It always has been. It likely will be, and hopefully always will be into the future. So thank you all very much, and thank you for helping me focus on that and give a little bit of feedback about that extremely impressive number. So thank you all very much.
No, thank you, very insightful, thank you. Dr. Gentile.
Thank you, Chair. Think about I think I saw on the slide that the number of dual enrollment TCAT students in the 4 credit classes now eclipse the amount of TCAT students that were there about 5 years ago. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ideally, all those TCAT dual enrollment students will walk away from high school with a credential. Many of them will not. What does TBR think of as success for those students, and how are we going to track where they go after this?
That's a good question. This gets at the heart of strategic enrollment management, thinking about how do you convey to a student that they first, I'm going to use some Troy Grant language here, that they have an asset to utilize. They have been in dual enrollment at the TCAT. They have accumulated clock hours towards a credential. How best to utilize that asset? Sometimes that means they go directly into a program. Oftentimes it does not. We've seen the dual enrollment conversion rates be around 30% or so historically. That's an opportunity. That's a growth opportunity for us, deploying SIM strategies to make that happen. Also, just conveying to students that you have the wherewithal, you have the ability to succeed in higher ed, that there's a path for you somewhere. For many of those students, that is, working with their hands on the shop floor, that is their future, that is their path forward, that's their preference. Giving them a sense of, yes, that is college, yes, there is an opportunity here, and yes, you can do that, there's an opportunity waiting for you. I think that psychology feels important as well. But there's a lot of opportunity to increase those numbers, to make it where more of those students take those credits and can pursue something, whether it's at a TCAP or a technical program, CT at the community college, also options there. All those are on the table now to help address that issue.
Thank you. Anybody else for Russ?
Can I just-
Oh, of course.
Sure. A little bit later this week, I get to participate in the Chattanooga State TCAT graduation as well as the community college graduation. And I've done that several times. And what I've learned over the years is that there are kind of two keys to a successful comment coming from a regent. One is to be brief, and the second is to use a Russ Deaton factoid because it makes you look smart. So first thing I have to do is I have to update it to being a TBR research and data team factoid.
That's right. That's much better
given
said.
Amy's performance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I think, to be able to get in front of those TCAT students and, let them know not only the graduation rate, the employment rate, but the 5-year employment rate.
Yes.
Is not only, a good thing for the TBR system as we measure our success, but the students' success and what their hard work means for their future employment, future livelihood.
Well said.
Real quick, so the percentages of employment in Tennessee, we could have 100% employment. It's just, it's not all in Tennessee. Is that right? So we just haven't tracked the top 15 or 20%, right?
That's correct. There probably is some occasional unemployment in there for sure.
Sure,
but I think
but
there's a meaningful portion of those graduates
it's probably
who
not
are
zero of
correct.
everybody
Correct.
else.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you were able to track, particularly at certain TCATs, which are kind of on the borders,
Right.
There's a meaningful number of those graduates who are out of state. We have some anecdotal sense of that, but hopefully in the future, data systems allow us to properly and fulsomely track that number.
This is really a minimum.
Yeah, I think
of
so. Yes.
Kids getting
Yes.
jobs, some Tennessee, but some other places.
Yeah, it's really important to bear in mind that we border 7
Yeah.
states, and we have reciprocity with all of those 7 states for students coming to our colleges. So many of that small percentage may have never intended to actually work in Tennessee, but came to college here.
Anybody else? All right, let's build on these two presentations with Troy Grant to talk about Tennessee direct admissions. You guys, we are running a little bit behind. This is our last important presentation. And then when we move into our action items, we'll pick up the pace a little bit. Thank you, Dr. Grant.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I wish you could have heard the murmur of celebrating TCAP presidents and fist bumping that happened during all of that last presentation that was happening generally in this area. But I want to talk to you and really make you aware of some work that's being done by THAC that really does directly affect our colleges, and really in preparation, in case you hear about this in your local communities, this will be something that we'll be talking about in the year to come. Tennessee Direct Admissions Pilot, just to root us in what has been talked about several times, our strategic plan, our mission around open access, completion, workforce development, but really want to zone in on these pillars. And I'm going to say this looking at my friend and colleague, Stephen. This is a lot, so keep me honest, Stephen, as I go through this. This is a lot of your team's work in partnership with us. But these two priority areas, you'll see number 2 and number 3, really do play through a lot of the work that we're going to talk about today. Really thinking critically about the student's experience, centering that on student success, and the collaboration across both the system and inside and outside of the system. There are things that we do in this state that I think we take for granted because of the infrastructure that has been built over time. The way that TBR partners with THAC, the way that we partner across multiple entities in the private sector and in the public sector. And that really is a hallmark of this particular work. So, why direct admissions? Research shows that many students find the college application onerous. And let me say, there's the mechanics of the college application. Sure, that's part of it. We've done a lot of work, however, in our system to simplify that process. The application, I would argue, in and of itself is not a challenge. It is the mindset of a student to then engage with the application. Envision you are a first-generation college student. You're from a community where college going is not the norm. No one in your family has gone to college. Taking that first step, to step kind of across that threshold to say, it's not the mechanics of doing the thing, it is that thing is even for me at all. And that is what this initiative really speaks to. So direct admissions, it's a nationwide trend. It basically is this idea that we proactively engage with students and enroll them and tell them that they are admitted to an institution. Again, that mindset of a student saying, you don't have to do anything. You are already part of us. You have everything you need in order to enroll in our institution. Current direct admissions initiatives have shown to boost college access, specifically for first-generation students, but affordability continues to be a challenge. What TIAC has found in the high school opinion survey, even in a state where I think the latest numbers I heard, $600 million in financial aid that we award, many of our students still think that it is not a possibility for them because of the financial barriers that are there. So part of this work is to not only draw students in, but to also make sure that they know that there are options available for them from the financial aid perspective. So TIAC is leading this initiative in partnership with researchers from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, along with national funders, including the Lumina Foundation. Just to kind of give you an idea, and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts here in just a minute, but some of the national research around this space has just, if I were to sum up this slide, is that there's been increases in college application doing this work and also in enrollment. And specifically, two-year institutions, open access institutions, which obviously is what we are all about, have seen an outsized impact from this work when this work has been done across the country. So, this is kind of the goal, to simplify the admissions process. And what TIAC is doing in partnership with these researchers is this year a study looking at this across a very, very large population. So one of the challenges we have in the state of Tennessee is that we do not have a statewide database of all of our seniors and their contact information. So that lives on the local level in LEAs, but it doesn't kind of tier up. So there's no good way to stand up a statewide initiative using that data to proactively reach out to students across the state. However, we do have a wonderful asset in the Tennessee Promise. And so, to the envy of many states, 67,000 students on average fill out the Tennessee Promise application. And in that application, they give their contact information, they give their parents' contact information, they also list which institution they are interested in enrolling in. And so we have this asset that then TIAC is leveraging in partnership with others to mobilize this direct initiative directed admissions initiative, but it is being done in this first year with this funding from the national partners as a research study. So here's what that's going to look like, and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this. You have 67,000 students. Imagine taking those 67,000 students and we're going to break them down into thirds. 1/3 is going to get no treatment at all. 1/3 is going to get a letter from the governor saying, hey, you are college material. Here's a list of institutions where you can engage and here are your next steps. What is new and different here is that last third, that they're going to get that letter, but there's also going to be some information about this $600 million in financial aid that we have at the state. It's like, you're not just college material, but here are some additional resources that come to bear on what you decide to do next. So the treatment schools, and this is how this is going to work, and we can get you a list of these if there's interest. This is not going to be done so that 67,000 students are going to be randomly kind of mixed together. It's going to be done by high school. So McGavock High School right down the road. Everyone at McGavock High School is going to be in one of those three buckets. Control group, letter 1, letter 2. That way that you don't have kind of some like cross-referencing within the high school context. All of our institutions are participating, along with 21 public and private four-year institutions across the state. Here are the list of those institutions and a map of where they are geographically. moving along so we can get to the next stuff. But this is basically what the student's experience is going to be. Last week, the letters started going out from the governor. They should land in mailboxes this week. Emails were also, Stephen, I will tell you, I already got some friends who reached out to me. It was like, hey, is this your initiative? I said, no, it's THEX, but I know what you're talking about. That their seniors received their letters. So the letter will go out from the governor to a student and say, you are college material, you are admitted, but there's some things that you need to do. And one of those things is to go to an enrollment form where you essentially give some additional information to really substantiate a college application. That data will then go from THEC to our institutions who will create an application in their system and will then begin nurturing that lead just like they would if a student was an applicant. We will then follow those students. Internally, we will follow them, but THEC and the researchers will look to see what is then the impact of this work in terms of increasing college access. The other thing that I think is just, here's some picture of like what those things look like. The letter from the governor, it's all branded across the initiative, Tennessee Direct Admissions as it's being called. There are going to be 5 really treatment groups, and this is a nuance of those 3/3 rather that I talked about. Again, the first group, no letter at all. The second one just gets that letter that says, you know, you're admitted. The third group is getting that letter with the financial aid information. And then there are 2 additional groups that are going to get some additional supports. That fourth group is going to get really targeted text messages to kind of help them engage in the process, to see the efficacy of this work with those students. The fifth group is going to have a college advisor. That is a THEC staff member who is going to be embedded and partnering with the high school to do this work and helping the students. You know, speaking from my past life, this is a lot of what the Gear Up work does, what ARS Foundation does. What does it look like if we have scaffolded support for those students? And I'll go ahead and tell you what it's going to look like. It's going to look like increased college going. And so that's what happens when you have a highly trained adult helping students do these things. And so what's interesting about this work, not only is it interesting in terms of what we're going to learn as a state, there's going to be lessons here for our own practice at our individual colleges in terms of how we think about engaging students proactively, how we draw them into our orbit, and how we enroll them. So this is a benefit for the state, but most certainly it's a benefit for our system and our individual colleges as well as we learn how to do this and how to do this really well. So what this has looked like in terms of support from the system office, we have been partnering with THEC in this work. We have been, in like all good partnerships, trying to push them and they try to push us, and we've kind of been rumbling around those things so that we can get the best product that we can. We've had weekly phone calls as of late with all of our community colleges. We also meet regularly with the support staff for our TCATs, just thinking about what this looks like. How can we as a system office support the work, but also how can we carry your feedback and your water back to THEC? So again, that we are doing this as best we can, providing technical assistance. The next steps will be that these students, this will be the class of 2026. So they will be enrolling in the summer and in the spring, summer and the fall of next year. We are going to be looking for those research results, which will take about 1.5 years. But in the meantime, this is not something that THEC is doing as like a one and done. I think that, you know, to speak for you, Stephen, what we understand is that it's building an infrastructure to see if this works, but also as a statewide initiative that then persists. So next school year, there won't be these treatment groups. We will not have a control group, and they are seeking our feedback about how to improve this initiative so that unburdened by some of the research constraints, how can we administratively do this so it really is maximizing both the benefit for our students, but also is like very administratively possible for our colleges. So with that, we just wanted to give you an update. This is something that's going to be newsworthy across the state. You might hear about it in your communities, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions or comments? And I want Stephen to weigh in here too. Regent Burdine.
Just make a comment. As a parent who's filled out that FAFSA 3 times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Too late for me. But.
I can take no credit for that, but I will take it. Yes, yes. Yeah.
Dr. Gentile, you're living in this too.
I am, and I'll share a response we received from a student here in a second, but I just want to thank TBR. This has long been a dream of TBR, and so I want to thank them for partnering with us to make this happen with other institutions. We have universities, public and private, who are part of this. I'm looking forward to expanding this statewide for all next year. Emails did go out last week saying, hey, check your inbox, your mailbox, and I'll just leave you with this. I got an email from a student from Bradley County Schools yesterday. said, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to make my parents proud, and in all caps, I'll be able to graduate at a higher level than my parents. So this is what we're doing this for. They were always going to be accepted to Chattanooga State, Cleveland State, TCAT Chattanooga, TCAT Athens. This is letting them know it's possible. So thank you guys for your partnership.
It's pretty cool. Anything else for Dr. Grant? I mean, we have an update in April when we get, March rather, when we gather again?
Whatever you say, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think we would look forward to that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. So after a robust morning of lots of great news and things happening within the system, let's turn to our action items. And I want to flip this a little bit because our friend, former Regent Shane Hooper, has arrived to spend a couple of minutes with us. Shane, would you come to the front? I know you're standing in the back. I need you front and center, my friend. Aw, thank you for coming back. For right there is perfection. Thank you. So, these are always bittersweet moments when we offer a resolution of appreciation. Please have a seat. I know you're a Marine, but it's okay to sit. When we offer a moment of reflection and appreciation to our former regents, and thanks for making the time for us today. With that, I will call on Regent Burdine to do the honors, please, sir, a fellow Marine.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning there, Devil Dog. A resolution of appreciation for the service of Regent Shane Hooper to the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas, there's a bunch of whereases here, so just get ready. Whereas Regent Shane Hooper was appointed in late 2022 by Governor Bill Lee to serve on the Tennessee Board of Regents to represent the 4th Congressional District and serve this system with distinction, dedication, and integrity. And whereas Regent Hooper is a graduate of Lipscomb University, and upon following graduation, he honorably served his country in the most lethal and aggressive United States Marine Corps service in the world. United States Marine Corps. I may have ad-libbed a little bit here, so yeah. Later earning a master's degree in economic development from the University of Southern Mississippi. And whereas Regent Hooper is a respected businessman and co-founder of Paragon Advisors, as well as a visionary community leader who most recently served as the president and CEO of the Shelbyville-Bedford Partnership, where his leadership advanced local and regional economic development. And whereas his dedicated service on the Board of Regents included countless hours of active engagement in support of the system, its institutions, faculty, and students, including representing the board at campus events, commencements, and other special occasions. And whereas Regent Hooper further demonstrated his commitment to the community and technical college system by serving on the Presidential Search Advisory Committee for Tennessee College of Applied Technology, Shelbyville, and providing valuable insight and guidance during this important process. And whereas he contributed his leadership, wisdom, and expertise as a member of the Personnel and Compensation and Workforce Development Committees, where his strategic perspective and advocacy for workforce alignment helped advance the mission of the system. And whereas Regent Hooper is recognized as a person of high integrity and wisdom with a sincere commitment to the welfare of the Tennessee Board of Regents system and the broader mission of higher education in Tennessee. And now therefore be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents expresses its sincere appreciation to Regent Shane Hooper for his exemplary service and leadership to the Tennessee Board of Regents system and extend best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. Are you offering that as a motion?
I am. Motion.
Thank you, sir. May I have a second? Thank you very much, Regent Harriman. So, and with that, any discussion and comments? And Chancellor, I'm sure you would like to weigh in as well.
I would, and Regent Hooper, we just want to thank you. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you with the work that you've helped us do, and we certainly are going to miss you as a regent, but we welcome you as a friend to this board and to our system. So thank you for everything.
Well, and I'll just add, we know given your continued work in economic development, you will not forget us, and we will not forget you, because this really is a good partnership. And I will also say that Mississippi's loss a few years ago with you and Sarah moving here to Tennessee was our gain. And you continue to build roots here, and now with, I think, 2 at the University of Tennessee, you're going to be here for a while. So that's a good thing. They're going to be part of that big percentage of folks who stick around. So thank you. Anyone else? With that, this requires a simple voice vote to affirm this resolution of appreciation for former Regent Shane Hooper. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Regent Hooper, the floor is yours.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to Governor Bill Lee for giving me the opportunity to serve on this board. To the esteemed board members here, it was a pleasure serving with all of you. I will never forget this time on this board. It was an absolute pleasure. Anytime that you can help move people forward, move communities forward, you're doing the right thing. So for those that I haven't met of you who are new to the board, you've got a great amount of work going in front of you, some great things. And like I said before, to all of those that I've served with, thank you, and your friendship means a lot to me. To those TCAT presidents that I've had an opportunity to meet and work with, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I view all of you as friends. So with that said, continue with everything that you guys are doing. It is extremely important. We cannot grow communities without a properly trained workforce. So everything that you do is extremely important. And working at the local level is always where my heart will be. So I commend you and encourage you to continue the great work, especially now that you have the best commissioner of agriculture that there's ever been in Andy Holt.
Thank you for giving us the chance to honor you, Shane. And we know we'd hoped he'd stay for lunch, but I know he's a busy guy. So, but thank you for being here, and you can remember us with that on your desk, Regent Hooper. Well said. Thank you, sir. All right. Head back this way. It's funny. Oh, well done, everyone. Thank you very much. And certainly an appropriate honor for Shane and Sarah, who's very much a part of everything in his life. So she's terrific. Let's go back then to item number 1. And Chancellor, we're going to begin a search or two.
Absolutely. I think you are all aware that Dr. Andy White recently submitted his intent to retire. Dr. Ray Brooks graciously agreed to currently come back and serve as our interim president of Cleveland State Community College. He did send me a text the other day that said he was on his second day of his second month of his second term as interim president, and I sent him a very big congratulations. The search criteria for the next president of Cleveland State Community College was provided in your materials prior to today's meeting, and upon approval, the recruitment process will begin. I thank you for your consideration of this request.
Any questions or comments for the Chancellor on the search criteria? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve.
So, second.
Thank you very much, Regent Bradshaw and Regent Burdine. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, let's get this search going. We've got a good committee put together. I know Chancellor's working on that. We will need a simple roll call vote to approve the criteria for the next president at Cleveland State. Mariah? No, not a roll call, a voice vote, sorry. This one simply requires a voice vote, so we're going to make it even simpler. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We have another retirement.
We have one more. President Dwight Murphy recently submitted his intent to retire in June of 2026. The search criteria for the next president of TCAT Oneida Huntsville was provided in your materials prior to today's meeting. Upon approval, the recruitment process will begin. I thank you for your consideration of this request today.
So I will say before I ask for a motion, Dwight Murphy is a mainstay up at the TCAT Oneida Huntsville. And at the risk of dating myself, I have known Dwight Murphy since he was county executive when Howard Baker served in the United States Senate. And Dwight loves to tell the stories of, he had an easier road to hoe, Commissioner Holt, when the Senate Majority Leader is your constituent. Those were glory days for Dwight Murphy, if you will, as county mayor. So, but he has certainly been a gift to us. With that, may we have a motion to approve the search criteria for the presidency at TCAT Oneida? Thank you very much, Regent DeWitt, and a second. Thank you, Regent Richardson. Any discussion? Hearing none, once again, this is a simple roll call vote. All in favor of approving this criteria, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Dr. Fox, our revised budget. And I know this is an important topic, but I also know you are capable of speaking quickly and succinctly.
I'm going to go faster than usual. Thank you, Madam Chair, Chancellor, and members of the board. I do have one informational item, if you will, before we get to the formal agenda, if I may. I would like to provide one staffing update this morning. Following a competitive search this fall, I would like to formally introduce our new Associate Vice Chancellor of Human Resources and Payroll to you as a board, Ms. Stephanie Schmidt, who is in the audience today. Stephanie, if you'll stand up and wave your hand so everyone can see you. Stephanie brings a diverse experience to this role, most recently serving as the Vice President of Human Resources for the Providence Groups, LLC, and has a wide range of experience in all aspects of human resources and payroll fields, including 12 years with the State of Tennessee Department of Human Resources as the Assistant Commissioner and Chief Talent Officer. So we're really excited to have Stephanie with us today, and just wanted to introduce you to the full board. And with that being said, I will move into presenting the FY26 revised October budget for your consideration and approval. The information I'm presenting today is rolled up to include the community colleges, TCATs, and the system office budget into one budget summary presentation. Please note you should have received the mail-out tables in your materials in advance that included this information by individual college. Next slide. As is customary, the board approved the FY26 proposed budget at the June 25 meeting. This approval provided the initial budgetary operating authority for our current fiscal year, but the proposed budget does not recognize factors such as fall enrollment changes, state budget adjustments, or current grant activity. Therefore, we prepare a revised budget, which I'm bringing you today, and the revised budget allows us to consider these factors and make necessary adjustments. So the following slides will provide a high-level summary comparing FY25 to FY26 revised budgets. Next slide. And to be most efficient with our time, I'm only going to highlight notable numbers on these slides. I'm not going to go into every number. I may be even a little more abbreviated than I plan to be, but feel free to stop me at any time and ask me any questions. Just for your information, TBR staff considers a 10% or greater adjustment in either direction as our target for what is notable. The first slide we'll review is revenue. This slide is showing you both unrestricted and restricted revenue. You'll see under maintenance, mandatory fees, and tuition, as well as other fees revenue. You will recall we had an average tuition increase of 3.5% for all of our colleges that the board approved in March. And enrollment for both the community colleges and the TCAT sectors, as we've mentioned earlier in the presentation, both of those showed upward trends this year, and that is what is reflected in the maintenance fee, tuition, mandatory fees, and other fees increases. Those are all attributed to our enrollment increase in those categories. The sales, service, and other increase is primarily due to a new system charge to support the Center of Global Innovation, which moved from Pellissippi State to the system office in FY26. In addition, we've had some additional services that are being provided by our service center, as well as we budgeted increases in investment income due to expected improvement in market conditions. The change in restricted is attributed to an increase in scholarships, both federal and state financial aid, based on the enrollment increases mentioned previously, as well as a federal financial aid budget reporting correction that was made in the FY26 revised budget. Next slide, please. Moving now to expense, this slide provides a summary that includes both unrestricted and restricted expenditures, as well as transfers. The increase in auxiliaries is attributed to some of our TCATs moving their bookstore operations from outsourced to in-house, which results in the recognition of gross sales revenue and cost of goods sold expense. As noted on the previous slide, the restricted expense changed to match the budgeted revenue adjustments on the restricted side. Moving on to transfers. This one requires a little bit more detail. Transfers or transfer activity is best defined as the transfer of carryover or unallocated funds from the previous fiscal year. These are non-recurring funds, and so transfers show movement of unrestricted, unallocated funds from the previous year
into the next current year. We have to allocate those or reserve those for something. So we typically transfer those in October, and those are being transferred to restricted for non-recurring investment in our physical plant and our equipment. A large number of unexpended plant and renewal and replacement projects that were funded in FY25 are not expected to continue in FY26, and thus reflects the change in transfers. Next slide. This chart shows a reconciliation from unrestricted beginning fund balance to unrestricted ending fund balance. The overall change in unrestricted fund balance is approximately $100.3 million and is attributed to our institutions transferring previous year-end unrestricted carryover or unallocated balances to restricted funds for future equipment and capital outlay and needs planning. Next slide. Moving on to position counts. Slide 6 summarizes the total number and type of authorized positions for the entire system, which includes our community colleges, TCATs, and the system office. With approval of this budget, the board will be authorizing a total of 7,480 positions for the system. Last October, that number was 7,234, which is an increase of 3%. Next slide. All right. And this slide provides a final summary of the October revised budget for the entire TBR system that is before you for approval today. However, before we ask for that approval, we need to include some information related to the locally governed institutions or the LGI budgets. As you all are aware, these are the 6 public universities that are not part of the UT system. Next slide, please. As you will recall, under the Focus Act, this board is required to consider the LGI university budgets, and that consideration is limited to those matters that are necessary to fulfill existing debt covenants, representations, agreements, and obligations under financing agreements entered into with the Tennessee State School Bond Authority. Next slide, please. To that end, university budgets have been received and reviewed in accordance with TBR policy 4.01.00.05, consideration of university budgets, and have been determined to meet debt service coverage requirements, have been found to be mathematically correct and internally consistent. Universities have certified compliance with required representations, and except as noted above, no judgments have been made regarding university budgets. Madam Chair, university and LGI budgets are recommended for approval as being in compliance with the above TBR policy. Additionally, staff recommend approval of the FY26 October revised budget for the TBR system as presented, and I'm happy to answer any further questions. I know that was real quick.
Any questions for Dr. Fox? I'd like to call on Tom as our Finance Committee Chair for his thoughts too.
Yeah, Alicia and I had a chance to go over this via email exchange, and all looks good, and I'd like to make a note.
We have a motion. Do we have a second to approve the revised budget? Second. Thank you, Regent Kastner. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, because this is a monetary matter, and thank you, Dr. Fox, I'll call on Secretary Perry to call the roll.
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent Branscombe.
Aye.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Davis.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt. Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harold.
Aye.
Regent Harriman.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt. Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Richardson.
Aye.
Regent Stevenson.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Fox. And welcome Stephanie once again too. We've had a chance just to meet briefly, and she is a dynamic personality, will be a great addition to the team. Dr. Reed is back along with Dr. Haw from Southwest. And I think Mark George and Commissioner Holt, looking at the importance of agriculture in West Tennessee and in Memphis, and on the logistics side of the house, I think this is going to hold considerable interest for you guys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to introduce y'all a new program. It's a new Associate of Applied Science and Artificial Technology coming through Southwest Community College. This will be the first of its kind in the state of Tennessee. It is a 60 credit hour program with an embedded certificate. It will start in high school as a dual enrollment, and they're also working on articulation to bachelor's degrees. And this will prepare graduates for roles in AI operations, data analysis, machine learning support, automation integration, and intelligent systems management. There's several states across the country who've already started associates in AI, so we're continuing with that momentum. There's huge opportunities for workforce growth, depending on the actual demand. The workforce growth is between 22% to 48%, and then the salaries range from 45,000 up to 111,000. Of course, this aligns very closely with our state master plan, as well as TBR strategic plan and the institutional mission. At this time, I will ask Alicia to very briefly talk about the revenue, and then President Hall will close us out.
Thank you, Dr. Reed, and good morning again. So I am going to talk to you about the expense and revenue projections as well as enrollment. If I can turn my page, I'm going to talk to you about that. All right. So the AAS and artificial intelligence will be funded through state appropriation and tuition revenue. This chart shows revenue and expense estimates as well as enrollment and completion projections for year 1 through 3. Reading this chart from left to right, the year across the top, and from top to bottom, expense revenue and then enrollment. You will see year 1 expense is estimated at $108,000. Of that, $29,200 is one-time or non-recurring, and $78,800 is recurring. The non-recurring cost includes PC upgrades as well as smartboard and server upgrades to provide enhanced power for machine learning and AI workloads. The recurring cost includes one full-time program coordinator who also teaches. The one-time recurring costs also include program marketing and licenses for AI-specific software and development tools and data science tools. The other $2,500 recurring will fund faculty professional development as well as instructional supplies. Looking forward to year 2, the recurring costs include the personnel mentioned previously with an adjusted cost of living increase, as well as minimal consumable operating and travel budgets to cover accreditation required travel. Year 3 includes the original personnel costs plus the addition of one adjunct faculty member to support projected enrollment growth and minimal travel and operating. As you are aware, the enrollment projections drive the tuition revenue projections, and you probably noticed the loss, if you will, in year 1, which is customary for the first year of most new programs. You can see here by year 2, the projections show a positive bottom line once the non-recurring equipment drops off. This leads me to the enrollment projections. You will see that year 1 projection of 18 FTE and increasing in years 2 and 3 to 36 and 54 FTE respectively, with projected graduation numbers at 8 in year 2 and 16 in year 3. This progression demonstrates steady program growth, retention of students across cohorts, and a clear pathway to graduation, aligning with workforce demand for AI-trained professionals. Beginning with a small cohort allows faculty to provide personalized support and closely monitor student performance, retention, and curriculum effectiveness. It also ensures that the AI specialized resources, including lab space, software, and equipment, are sufficient for all students. At this time, that concludes my proportion of the presentation on revenue and expense costs. I'll be happy to answer questions. Or we'll wait till the end. I'll introduce Dr. Hall.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and I'll be very brief. Dr. Fox and Dr. Reed have already spoken to the head of the matter, all the specifics, and I just want to speak briefly to the heart of the matter. One of the things that we know in Memphis is that we are facing long economic challenges. This program, we believe, is a cycle breaker. It's more than workforce development for us. It's an opportunity to disrupt generational poverty that has occurred in Memphis. And this is why we are so excited about offering a high opportunity, high wage opportunity for students that can begin in dual enrollment all the way through incumbent workers and to students coming back saying that this is what they want to do. We can make sure that we are aligned with workforce development. We can give people an opportunity to change the trajectory of not only their lives, their families, but also Memphis and our region. And so we ask that you consider approving this program just for that very reason. All of the things that Dr. Reed said, all the things that Dr. Fox said, and also the heart of the matter, how we can change Memphis. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Hall.
Are there any questions from the board that any of us could answer? And we also have the content experts from Southwest Tennessee here.
Anything, this obviously has implications on the logistics side of the house. What do you see the future of AI in your business region?
Going to completely change the logistics field. AI is just critical to our growth and to the logistics industry's growth. So I'm ready to make a motion.
Excellent. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, make the first motion.
Thank you very much. We have a motion from Regent George to approve this proposal. May we have a second? Thank you very much. That was Regent DeWitt. I thought I recognized that voice. Any further discussion or comment? You ready?
I just want to have one quick comment.
Yes, please.
I'm fully supportive of this. I think it's terrific. Go forth and prosper. I think a sister industry to this is power production, and I think we've got to either add to what we're already doing or create that curriculum, because they go hand in hand.
Well said.
And for something to think about for the future.
Good observation. Any other discussion? Hearing none, this is also a voice vote. So all in favor of approving this exciting proposal, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thanks again, Regent George. And thank you, Dr. Hall. Well done. And finally, Jothany Reed will close us out with the Faculty Emeriti
Thank you.
consideration.
I appreciate that, Regent. It's always great to highlight the incredible faculty across the state. All of their materials are in your document, so I won't go into detail. But again, this is an opportunity to recognize them for their institutional service, length of service, any academic achievement. This is at the discretion of the president, and again, there's no monetary benefits, but there are benefits such as access to a game or the library card or just the recognition. Motlow State has 4 coming forward. We want to recognize Charlie Coffey, Lucy Craig, Caroline Simmons, and Deborah Simpson. And then from Nashville State, we have Valerie Bulow, and then we also have from Southwest Tennessee, William Weltner. And so those are our candidates for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lots of institutional knowledge there, so it's nice to keep them connected in such a way. Any questions or comments for Vice Chancellor Reed? Hearing none, we do need a motion to approve. Thank you, Regent Bradshaw. And a second? Thank you, Regent Branscombe. So any comments at this point? Hearing none, this is again a simple voice vote to approve these distinguished faculty emeritus candidates. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. So, just a couple of quick announcements here. Thank you all for your patience, but it's been a great morning together, and we've certainly covered a lot of significant ground. You should have received your save the dates yesterday for March 4, the SOAR Awards. Our next meeting will be that day, and SOAR activities, of course, will begin on the 4th and continue into the 5th. We'll be back at the Grand Hyatt downtown, so more to come from Mariah and the team, but go ahead and hold March 4 and 5th if you will. Another housekeeping reminder, our disclosure forms for 2026 are due by the end of January, but Mariah and Brian hope will be done much sooner than that with this process, and they have simplified it for us to do online. So you should have that in your emails as well, and Brian and Mariah will help us with some periodic reminders. And of course, if there are specific questions that you have with regard to your disclosure, Brian is always standing by to help us out. Chancellor, what's on your mind?
Yes, I'd like to take just a moment and ask all of the presidents that are in the room to please stand and let us recognize your presence here today. You are the reason that we are receiving so much national recognition. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. And y'all may notice I'm using the word national quite a bit in my theme today. Y'all will catch on maybe, hopefully, at some point after this weekend. I do want to welcome all the board members to the holiday lunch right after this meeting. Thank you all for a great year. We are looking forward to a wonderful 2026. I cannot thank this board enough for the great job that you do for us every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, as you always say, simply put, student success and workforce development. And the other thing you always say is we change lives. And today certainly reflected that. So 2026 will be a great year. And let me also thank you for the honor, once again, to Kim McCormick and Gerald McCormick, two amazing Tennesseans, and we're just all so proud to know them both. With that, let's adjourn. Happy holidays. Most of all, be safe headed home, and we will look forward to seeing you in the new year. If there's no further business from the board, we are adjourned. Thank you all. I know, well done.
I only cried once.
I know.
We're gonna have a nuclear update at some point.
We are.